out the signals for the Baltimore Colts. Unitas gives to Amici. The Colts are the world champions. Amici scores.
It's amazing, sensational, dramatic, heart-rending, exciting, thrilling finish in the history of college football. California won the big game. 5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes!
This is Phil Steele.
This is Mike Burnham.
This is Wes Durham.
This is Mike Ashley.
Hi, this is Chuck Foreman, number 44 of the Minnesota Vikings.
Woo, mercy, this is handsome Jimmy Vane, the Boogie Woogie Man.
This is Coach Fry with Virginia Tech Football, and you are listening to Big Dog Sports Talk.
Are you ready to rock? Are you ready to roll? Okay, let's do it.
You're in the doghouse with Rick Watson on Big Dog Sports Talk, presented by Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment. Join us in the Family Fencing Studios and chime in on the McClellan Chiropractic chat line. He's keeping cool with help from Little River Heating and Air, but this show is straight fire. And now, the big dog, Rick Watson.
Rick Watson's got the mic, he's the big dog king. Cover sports so sharp, it's a New River thing. Virginia Tech fire, rapid pride too. Every stat, every play, he's bringing it to you. He's got that voice, deep as a valley, breaking it down, no dilly, no dally. Big dog sports talk, feel the bark. Got the scoop, faster than a sprint, calling plays like a coach, every word's a hint. From the courts to the fields, the stories unfold.
Hey, good morning. How is everybody? It is Thursday here on the program. Hope you're doing well. Hit us up in the McClellan Chiropractic chat room. We'd love to hear from you. Also, BDST text line brought to you by Professional Door. I still have to look at it. 540-391-0788. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Stephen. Good morning, Paul. Good morning, Chad. Everybody, morning to all. Morning there. There we go. Good stuff. Good stuff. Everybody's doing okay. We made it in. Feeling a lot better today. Much, much better today. A lot better today. A lot more awake here on a Thursday. Hang on. I got Kitty Patrol. Let me fix this real quick. All right. Here we are. So how's your Thursday? How's your temperate climate now with the hiring of James Franklin? Coming up, Andy Bitter from Tech Sideline. Todd Grantham, the coach, going to join us. And we'll get more on the James Franklin hiring in Blacksburg from somebody who, along with my Big Ten source, knows how things work. And then Dwight Vick from Franklin's rousing press conference at Castle to Rick's No Hassle podcast. It is no hassle. Thank you, Hearing Writer. We are here in Palm Coast and are going to keep treading hokey water until James Franklin makes it rain. BDST is online. By the way, Morris, your shirts went out yesterday. I think I sent you tracking. I can't remember. And I have to write my article for the Patriot today. I hope Mike Williams isn't mad. Rodney, tell if you're there, Rodney, tell Mike I'm getting him the article this morning. I got a little behind after my long travel. Good morning, Hokie Rocks. Good morning, Opal. I think Thunder says, oh, man, I wish. Man, that was a great song. I think Rick hired the same band that performed the Chargers Superchargers for his theme song. Y'all remember that? San Diego Chargers. Oh. One day on the, I wonder if that counts as musical infringement. You know, Lord, you get dinged. You know, there in the open, we run the old show open. And there was one day, because we have jump around, and after Neil finishes with the intro, it kind of keeps playing, right? So one day I was late getting it off by like 10 seconds. And I got this warning that I was infringing music copyrights and all this stuff. It's true. It's true, TLB. I feel bad. I meant to do it yesterday. So, Mike, I will get it to you. Hopefully you can get it in Friday's paper. It's my apologies. But I laid down. Phone just kept waking me up every 20 minutes. So I just said, you know what? I went on to work. And when I got home yesterday afternoon, I think I probably slept from the time I got home until about 9-ish, 9:30, woke up, ate a little something, and went right back to bed. So I got to finish the article today. So, Mike, please give me some time today to get it in. Rodney, be my ambassador for the Patriot. Man, but anyway, I wonder if that would be – I'd love to find those Thunder and put them on here. There were several of those songs. The Cowboys had a great one. Charlie Pride, the great, rest his soul, former country singer Charlie Pride, did one with the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys. There was one for the Dolphins, but the San Diego Superchargers, clearly the Houston Oilers. They had one back in the old Love You Blue era. That's a good memory there, Thunder. Makes you feel good. What hideous Thursday night NFL matchup do we get tonight? By the way. Bills in Texas. Actually, it's a good game. Hey, what do you know? At least it's a good matchup. It might have read like Alice in Wonderland if you'd finished the article yesterday. Good morning, Rodney. So tell Mike I'm getting him the article today. And my apologies, but I was out. I worked and then I was out, and I just never got in article mode. Yeah, Matthew. Yeah. Oh, that's still classic, man. The Super Bowl Shuffle was just – they knew they were the best team. They knew they were going to win. They had Walter and Jim McMahon and Refrigerator Perry and Singletary. I love the Super Bowl Shuffle. That was done. That was well done. Yeah. We are the Bears shuffling through. We're so bad, we know we're good. Whatever it was. I wonder if I can put those on here. Or would that fall under? I guess it probably would. I'd get dinged. I'd love to have those and I could just play them from time to time. Since it's considered a registered song, I'm probably not going to be able to do it. It is the only downfall of YouTube, plus the fact that you get to see this every day. That's the only negatives about it. But on the radio, we could play all sorts of music. Thank you, Rodney. Just let him know. I know he's mad. He's got to be mad. I'll have it to him before lunchtime, just today. I will have it to him before lunchtime. Tell him I promise. Tell Mike I'm making him the Big Dog Barks promise. Well, hang on. Good Lord. Hang on. We got... The animal is not making up his mind this morning. There's nothing good about the Cowboys, not even a song. I kind of like the Charlie Pride song. The only thing good if you're not a Cowboys fan, for me, about the Cowboys, my mom was a lifelong Cowboys fan and a real fan. Mom started pulling for him back in the 60s. Matter of fact, I think I get more of my sports stuff from my mom, who I miss so much, especially this time of year. God, it sucks not to have your parents during the holidays. But anyway, I know many of you have the same situation. But she loved the Cowboys. So that I look at that as a positive. But it was Charlie Pride, and he had that song. You can look them up. They're all on YouTube. But now Thunder's got me wanting to hear the Supercharger song. But I don't think I can play it. I could probably find it and get it downloaded, but I think I'd get dinged. You're going to owe $372. Why did I leave the door open? And now I didn't shut the door all the way. Hang, it's too chilly. I'm awake, I promise. Anybody else do stuff like that? Like I opened the door and just left it open. I'll go out to my truck to leave for work, and I'll leave the keys hanging on several times. Yeah, real. That's why it works. Real world radio. Anybody else do stuff like that, or is it just me getting older? I hope it's not me just losing my mind. I have sat out in my truck. You know, it's got the fob. Is that what they're called? Fobs, bobs, whatever the hell they're called. And I'm sitting there trying to start it. I'm like, what's going on, man? My battery dead? Oh, no fob. Oh, I left it in the house again. And that, for some reason, I let the boy in and I leave the door wide open. But I promise you, I'm well rested. We're going to talk to Andy Bitter. They paraded James Franklin out there last night to the basketball crowd. Your thoughts on that if you win? I don't know if you win or not. I'm still worried about Morris being aroused. The banjo and the Dolphin song is awesome. When you were talking Miami Dolphins, you were talking Super Bowl. Yeah, been a while, huh? Been a while. But we'll start to find out now. I would say probably today we'll hear something about the staff and the numbers associated. Around 8 million is probably what it's going to be when you look at the divert and the buyout and all that stuff. So we can get up to 10 mil. That'd be my guess. Didn't go well. Fans revolted. Yeah. It's hard to believe. You think about it. Speaking of the Cowboys and Dolphins, the Dolphins have not won a Super Bowl. Was that the Vikings Super Bowl? Is that right? Because they lost to the Cowboys. They beat the Redskins in the perfect season, the last perfect season. And then it was the Vikings, that horrible Vikings Super Bowl on the artificial turf. It was overcast, hardly any offense. They wore those beautiful aquamarine jerseys. And that was the Dolphins' last Super Bowl. Yeah, there you go. 1973. So 27 years, 52 years. That's incredible. Cowboys, 94. 30 years. That blows your mind when you think about it. Hail to the Redskins, Knicks fan. Hey, good morning, Knicks fan. What's up, brother? Hail to the Redskins was the worst. Hail victory. Yeah, that was a strike year, though. Yeah, I know how you feel, man. Our Broncos, yeah, we got Timmy Smith. Do you know I got in a fight the day after that game? I was a student at Radford. Well, I didn't get in a fight. I was boxing at that point, so I didn't really get into fights. I just kind of ended potential confrontations. And I was all distressed. The Broncos had lost the year before to the Giants. You know what I'm talking about, Knicks fan, 39-20. And then we were up 10-0 in the first quarter against the Redskins. And then it just went all to hell, and they scored 35. So the next day, I'm just, I'm a little distressed. I'm upset. And I went to class, and I had my Broncos hat on. Right? I had my Broncos hat on. And they used to have a bowling alley down there in Heath. I don't know if anybody knows anything about Radford. So I was going in there to get some lunch. They had really good sandwiches, and that's where I'd go eat. Bowling alley, just like we talk about with the Super Bowl. And there was these two punks in there, and some guy was giving me a hard time about the Broncos because he was a Redskin guy. I don't care about that. But then he come up and he goes, "Hey, man, you're a loser. You're wearing that hat. What are you doing wearing that hat? You got your ass kicked yesterday." I just said, "Why don't you just mind your business?" And he walks over and he hits my hat and knocks it crooked on my head. I'm already upset about the game. So much so that after that game, I remember coming down to my basement at the time, and I was working the big body bag. I did it for like an hour or two. So I clocked the guy pretty good. A couple little rabbit punches. You pull your punches when you know how much at that time you can hurt somebody. And the guy who was there, the manager, I said, "Hey, you saw it, dude." He made contact. He goes, I saw it, but you probably need to leave." Guy's laying there on the floor doing this. That I got into a little skirmish right after that game. Don't mess with somebody's hat. If you're hitting the bill of their hat and then the finger kind of scrapes by your forehead, that means you've touched someone. And that means your ass is hitting the pavement. No, they haven't. Timmy Smith is still running through Denver, Colorado. Yeah, just a little rabbit punch. You got to pull your punches because you could really hurt somebody. He's just some little punk, some kid. I don't know. He's probably junior, senior. I don't know. Yeah, that happened in the bowling alley in Heath Hall down at Radford. Yeah, it sure did. Yeah, I was just showing team support. That's all I was doing. Heck, I didn't know the Dolphins still had a team. Are they still around? That's true. I mean, that's why they toast the champagne, man, and they will. No one's ever going undefeated again. The way the NFL is set up, it's just not going to happen. Don't touch my hat. Don't touch my dog. That's right. Don't touch my hat. Don't touch Balboa Creed. If you touch Balboa Creed to hurt him, just like you are with your dog, then we're having a different conversation about your overall future health. Good morning, Jason, and all the fine folks at Family Fencing who will be working, by the way, in the wintertime. That's right. Family Fencing Studios, 540-200-8294, familyfencingnrv.com. So you're not using your yard in the winter, so that's when you should have them come and assess what you need and get that thing up. So when you get out there in the spring and you're all excited when things start turning green. Thanks to Mark Hunley, McClellan Chiropractic, sponsor of our chat room, which has exploded again this morning, as always. Mark is right off of Peppers Ferry Road. Travis Williams, I think, is going today from Professional Door to go get adjusted again. Mark is the absolute best at what he does. As is Travis. He wants people to come work for him right up across from New River Community College. Garage doors better than anybody. Their business has gotten so big, they need quality workers. He wants to train you. $20 an hour, make it a career. You will be very glad you did. Great insurance. Come on. National Bank member FDIC, the exclusive banking partner, BDST here on YouTube. The Ready Set Fund. Thank you very much, Bob Christ. I've had a lot of people reach out to me, Bob. Hopefully they're reaching out to you about trying to raise money for certain teams, certain events. So email Bob, BOBCRIST, the number 11 at gmail.com. Check out the Ready Set Fund. Do it. Just do it. BDST Fan Question of the Week brought to you by the attorney Ryan Price, 701 West Main Street in Radford, Trust and Estate Planning. BDST Fan Question of the Week, what will the Virginia Tech record be next year with James Franklin? And oh my God, you ought to see some of the records. Little River Heating and Air, 1095 Radford Street in Christiansburg, 540-553-2971. I can't recommend anyone anymore for what they do in terms of the heating and air realm than those individuals. And Charles Lee. Go give him. I think I said Travis Lee. Charles Lee. And, of course, each and every day we're presented by Pulaski County Sports Entertainment. Thanks so much, Jonathan Sweet, for coming on to talk more about the racetrack. That was awesome. Very, very awesome. Just like the Barney Fife, don't wear my hat. Creed is freaking awesome. Thanks, man. Oh, you mean the band or you mean my kitty? He's Balboa Creed for Rocky Balboa and Apollo Creed. Thank you. Yeah, he is. And his story is special. That's back in the days when I was jogging. I guess what is he now? He's 5 or 6. Coming around the corner and I see a bunch of dead kittens in a bag. Oh my God. It was just, and then you get just furious. How can somebody do that? Even if you don't like cats, why are you tossing them on the side of the damn road? What is wrong with humanity? And I see the bag doing that. He comes walking out and he's about this big. He's that big. And I got there just in time or he'd have been gone. So I stuck him in my shorts pocket and brought him home. And at the time, my kids were here. And they're, it was over at that point. We're keeping him. Pitching a fence, getting aroused. Well, no, Paul, that's not what I'm talking about. See, thank you. Opal's got my back. She would hurt somebody over Balboa Creek. You can't see him. He's down here sprawled out. I think he had a successful night out in the wild. That's funny. Hitting my animal requires a different amount of enthusiasm. Yeah, things change. They're your family members. It's like if it's your kids, right? Jason, shout out to Giles, Radford, and Christiansburg. Girls volleyball, all 3 playing for state championships. Oh, that's good knowledge. Thanks, Jason. Hell yeah. Go Giles. Go Radford. Go Christiansburg. Is Auburn not doing it this year? Are they not playing for one? Did they not make it? Also, since 1997, James Lawson's been doing it at Lawson's Mobile Home Supply. Windows, doors, and plumbing installation, 300 North Franklin Street. Give James a call, 540-381-8011. And make sure that you go to Harvey's GM for your next vehicle. You should at least go talk to him. You won't regret it. And the NRV Super Bowl Bowlers of the Month, the Scotch Doubles champs. Hi, I'm a Scotch Double champion. Jacob Ratcliffe and Mike Phillips. Company, sign up now, holiday parties, 540-382-5525. And thanks, everybody at Montgomery County Chamber. And thanks to my man, Brandon. Hey, I met who did I meet yesterday? Hang on. I want to make sure I get it right. Jeff Mitchell. Jeff, it was great, brother. Jeff picked up 3 shirts. I met him. And the shirts are great, and they're going, and it's exciting. I love them. Love the way they're made. So thanks to Brandon at Top Shelf Apparel in Pulaski. There you go, $20. Oh, by the way, I got to change this. I now have a set mailing fee. Got it worked out yesterday, and I hate to do this, but it's going to cost, and it's not going to go up. It's going to be a little more, but I really don't give a damn. We're going to go with $30 to ship. The 3 things that I've shipped, I've lost a little money, but it's no big deal. Nobody pay me any more money. But they just kind of looked at the future and said, just 10. If you do 30, you'll be fine on $10. So that's what we're doing. $30 shipped, and that's multiple shirts. Don't worry about it. If you want 2, you want 3, 30 is going to do it. I'm not charging anymore. I don't care. 20 if I can get it to you locally. 20 if I can get it to you locally. All right. Agreed, Knicks fan. What goes through your mind? Oh, here's kittens we didn't want. Let's just drive down the road and throw them out. Either they're going to starve to death or get killed. And the other ones had gotten killed. His little brothers and sisters were all, don't get me started. Giles beat Auburn. Okay. Thanks, Jason. Jason is a volleyball connoisseur. He helps us out. Not only is he part of family fencing, he is the husband of one of my hallway mates down at Radford, Nicole. And we love Nicole. She's the one that wrote your copy, by the way. I don't think you're paying her enough, Jason. This is pretty good. He's a high school football official, and he also does volleyball. So, yeah, good luck, man. Good luck to all of them. I hope they all win state titles. Always pull for the local teams. Always. Tebow, wouldn't it be hilarious if Tech beat UVA and just ruin their year? It's not out of the question. No, it's not out of the question at all. Not at all. Moore says Miami's still in the playoff speak. What if Tech beat them Saturday? Talk about ruining a season. The whole Miami thing's getting – it really blew up again yesterday. People are – look, the whole playoff setup is rigged. We know that. It is what it is. There's no rhyme or reason. The ESPN dreaded FPI has teams with 4 losses still in the top 25. Teams who have beaten other teams ahead of the other teams. Again, if you beat someone and you're in the same poll, you should be ahead of them. Notre Dame has 2 ranked losses, 1 to the ranked team that they're ranked ahead of. There's no rhyme or reason to it. None. But nonetheless, that's where we are. And that's why people got sideways over it, and I don't blame them. But anyway, I digress. How's everybody feeling now? Everybody still all fired up, ready to go? Press conference yesterday. We'll talk to – I'm trying to wait. Andy was there to get the vibe. And, we'll get – nothing. I watched most of it. Most of it was what you expect in a press conference. People were making a big deal about the airport comment. And I'm thinking, well, there's an airport about 3 miles away from Happy Valley that you used. That felt like that was something that was regurgitated. Maybe they're rigging rankings for betting. Who knows? I'm a 100% in agreement, Prometheus. They should. And Dwight Vick will tell you, remind me, Prometheus, I'll ask Dwight when Dwight comes on. They should get rid of the 25, get rid of the lunch pail. It will always live in effigy, 100%. You are right. No, he is meow. No, what he's doing, he's over here and he's trying to get to something that's hanging up because I think he thinks it's an animal. He was distracted. So you probably heard him. He's like, hey, I'm going to go get that. No. But he knows now you can just give him a look. He's a lot like a dog, which is really cool. Like he really is. And I just gave him a look and shook my head and he immediately jumped down. He knows. But yeah, I'm with you. That'll never be forgotten. We're always going to appreciate it 100%. But let's not do it anymore. Let's just let it go. If this is going to be the new era that every Tech fan hopes and believes that it is, then just let it resonate. And I guarantee you, Bud Foster will be the first one to tell you, let the lunch pail. You could put the original one. I think he still has it. Put it under glass somewhere and have it there in the football. I mean, that'd be great. But do something else. Yes. I mean, don't lose Sandman, but the other stuff, let the other stuff go. But in our BDST attorney Ryan Pry fan question of the week, everyone just about, there are a few 7 wins, but everyone other than like maybe a half dozen, and I've had over 100 responses. It's great. Thank you. Over 100 responses. Most of you are 8, 9. There's a lot of 10-win seasons next year coming through. Big recruiting win. Yeah, it is. They're going to be loaded up this weekend at the stadium. Yeah, it's going to be loaded up as it should be, especially when you bring in a new coach. And that's me, Paul. The coaches, the whole key to Franklin's success, and I know everybody's so excited over a brand new toy right now, are going to be the coaches that he brings in. Yeah, you can't move on without moving on. Exactly. You can't take a step forward, Prometheus, if you keep putting one step back in the doorstep, right? That's you're exactly right. Matthew. I love mornings like this when we can just talk and chat. This is great. Some Penn State fans never liked Franklin because he wasn't Paterno. I don't know about that. That was far enough removed from Paterno. And a lot of people turned on Paterno, even up there, after the Sandusky thing. Let Franklin be Franklin. We'll see what that means. I agree with you. When you're going to bring that guy in, let him do his thing. Correct. I agree with that. But what's been interesting to me about all this, and I understand it from both sides, and we go back to what Whit Babcock did to this program with the 2 hires that he made. I still don't blame him for the Justin Fuente hire. I blame them for allowing it to evolve in the way that it did. And apparently Whit brings him in and then lets other people behind the scenes kind of, and to be honest, now that I've learned more about it, Justin Fuente really didn't get a fair shake from some of the things he was promised. Now, he was a toolbox. Now, and he put a wall around him from all the media and fans, but he didn't necessarily get the tools that he was promised when he got here. I have since learned all that. And then Brent Pry should have never happened. So everybody clamoring for a name, Tech was in a situation, and everybody's at, and I appreciate, by the way, thank you. Send me text messages all day. It's great on the professional door text line. I try to answer them. Yesterday was one of those days I was just down all day, not emotionally down, just physically down. Man down, Rick's down, medic. That was me, which is why Mike Williams, give me this morning to get you the article. Rodney, just tell him I'm begging him. Tell him I'm giving him the puppy eyes to forgive me. But what Whit created was a situation where maybe you don't find the best long-term fit, right? Pimp down. So they had to go get the name. So everybody who's asking me, I'm going to reiterate it one more time. We told you October 20th, or my prediction was it would be James Franklin. Not surprised at all it happened. I've had people go, can you believe they got – yeah, they had zero competition for him. Zero. They got the guy they honed in on. And then it was weird yesterday. Like, there's no way they sat down and interviewed. Bruce Arians said, we interviewed 20 coaches. No, you didn't. You may have reached out to 20 representatives, but you didn't sit down and interview 20 coaches because, well, for one, you couldn't because they're in season. And then Bud Foster says, we made the call shortly after he got fired at Penn State. So which is it? But for me, it's Bob Chesney. I said that right after the prediction. Who do I think would have been the best hire? Bob Chesney. Could Tech afford to do that after the Brent Pry hire? No. And I don't mean financially afford. I just meant from a how's it going to look, the perception of it. Paul says, I wish I could ask him one question. What is missing or what does Tech not have compared to Penn State that would need to be invested to get recruits excited to be there? They're not in the Big Ten. They're not in one of the two power controlling leagues. And recruits know that. No matter how much money Virginia Tech has, Penn State's always going to have more. Opal says, I was leaning toward liking him. He showed emotion and seemed like he had a plan. Then he took questions from the press, and I felt like he was teaching a good manners class. Yeah. Prometheus, I'm old school, Rick. You need to be held accountable. 100%. Yeah, I'm with you. There's no accountability, man. If we had accountability, Prometheus, this college athletics would look a hell of a lot better than it does in 2025. Knicks fan, I used to enjoy Sandman. Players all hyped up coming out. They didn't deserve to come out to it this year. Yeah, Bob Chesney could end up at Penn State. I'm not going to believe he's going to UCLA. Not going to happen. Tebow says, I get the vibe listening to James Franklin. He's out there to prove something to the doubters. We'll see. I would think he'd be motivated. I hope he's humbled. I would think he would be humbled. He needs to be humble, to be honest, from what people around the industry say about him. And we'll see. I would think he'd be motivated. Still don't have an answer to the question. I don't know if he could answer the question or whether he would answer the question. He's talked about being hurt and how he had to assess being let go at Penn State. Something happened. Because in no world does it make any sense where you let go of the coach who had you one play away from a national championship game the year before. This isn't about all those big game losses that people are now highlighting. This isn't about that, because you've overcome that when you've got them trying to win that football game to go to the national championship. And you let him go after 2 losses. What's the story behind it? Isn't anyone else curious? Everyone who's celebrating, everyone who's scheduling parties for the hire, wouldn't you like to know that? Are we ever going to know that? People are going to say it's because of unreasonable expectations at Penn State. No, they were playing for a national championship. They were in the national semifinal. He got them, right, on the cusp of playing for a national championship. So don't tell me that. What was it? It had to be personality conflict. It had to be bad relationships throughout the athletic department and the administration. It had to be something, because it makes no sense. Now, because he was hired, the buyout is not going to hurt them. But I'm telling you this, let's say he didn't get hired. Okay, let me know, Rodney. Tell him I apologize. Let me know. Yeah, let me know. Tell him I'll keep it a little shorter. Just tell him I completely collapsed yesterday after that trip. I usually don't get that tired after trips. Man, I was wiped out. I was absolutely wiped out. But, yeah, let me know. Let me know and just tell him I apologize. All right? He can rerun one of the early ones if he wants. All right. Text message, no idea. Someone said, Penn State alum, that there was a lot of disagreement about who should be playing in NIL. you rub people the wrong way. And there was a video about the spring game, and I had heard about it, but I didn't pay any attention to it because I never thought James Franklin would be available or want to come to Blacksburg, But he went after a group of fans at the spring game. Like somebody said something, and he spent time walking over and getting in their face and grabbing the police and making them leave. Like he held up the game. Have you seen that? Right? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how this plays out. So that, if you're going to play devil's advocate, we'll talk to Grantham about that coming up, and we'll talk to Dwight. I just want to know. Well, the problem with getting Knicks fan Franklin on the show, they're marketing Playfly's their marketing folks. So I don't know how all that ties into his contract. They probably have certain things he can go on. We'll see. I'll try. I mean, Mike Young wanted to come on the show. We're going to get Megan Duffy. All the other coaches are good. So I don't know. I'm going to try. I'm going to reach out to Travis Wells. Sure. I'll give it a shot. But, we'll see. We'll see. I'll give it a shot. Sure. I mean, I would want to. I'd love to have him on. Sorry, I'm texting one of our future guests here to let them know about a time. Hello from New Zealand? Really? Really? Well, welcome. Welcome. Very cool. Yeah, but that's apples and oranges, Tebow. He says, why did the Eagles fire Doug Peterson after they won a Super Bowl? That was 3 years after they won the Super Bowl. This wasn't not even half a year into the following year you had your program in position. He had lost that program. Time had built up. Matter of fact, he got the benefit of the doubt because of the Super Bowl longer than he probably should have. So I don't think that's apples and oranges. We're talking about being in the national semifinals, one play away last year, and he has one loss that made no sense at UCLA, and then he had another very just gut-wrenching loss against Northwestern, and they were ready to go. You're not even halfway through the next season and you're cutting bait. That's two totally different situations. Yeah, if I don't get him, it's not going to be for a lack of trying. I'm sure he'll go on Tech Sideline. He'll go on Tech-sponsored things. He'll be on with Burnup and Roth, things like that. Well, hello, New Zealand. What time is it? Michael, what time is it in New Zealand? Let me know. Yeah, they're switching to Adidas next year. That's right, Knicks fan. They got a huge deal, massive, massive money coming in from Adidas. That's why they switched from Nike. Yeah, massive deal. No, the shoe companies won't. Shoe companies aren't going to tell a university who they want. 12 a.m., 12:45 a.m. Friday morning. Wow. So, math. Is that 18 hours difference, Michael? So you're 18 hours into the future. That fascinates me. It's always fascinated me since I was was little. Yeah, exactly. They're going to put him on national shows. Of course he's going to be on McAfee. Hell, he was just on the ESPN set. Of course he was. Now I have people agreeing with me on the text line. Yeah, look, I'm not trying to bust anybody's bubble. I think it's a question. I would think you would want that question answered, Tech fan. Maybe now that he's landed somewhere, some journalist up there will bring the story out. That's pretty cool, man. Make sure you say hello to James Franklin first. He likes you to say hello first. Is that true? Is that right? Is that right? Am I really? I'm the only live stream. Well, thanks. Subscribe, Michael. Get New Zealanders to subscribe to BDST. Remind them it's free. Of course, we'll say hello. Now, I do work. There's a lot of bots that show up in chat now that we have the second stream that YouTube created. You get a lot of wider range, and then people I look like Kane from WWE. Thank you. I like Kane. You have to watch the bots and some of the things that they say. But no, welcome. That's great. So that's 18 hours in the future. How's the future? How's it look? That whole world Earth rotation around the sun thing is always fascinated me. Always. 18-hour difference. That's wild, man. Morris, I thought you had it going on in Japan, right? I thought yours was exaggerated, your time in between. Good stuff. Good stuff. I'm junior high. New Zealand is where it's at. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. I feel like a bot doing the same thing. Yeah. Sometimes you feel like a bot. Yeah. So he did that. What did he do at the presser? What did I miss? I thought it was pretty funny when people were like, "Oh, he's ready to go." Did you hear the airport comment? Well, he said the same thing at Penn State. He had one right there at Penn State. It's not like that's original. Did you know? I'll share it now. I have gotten 8. Yeah, I saw him start crying. Yeah. Yeah. I've gotten 8 of the predictions on the BDST fan question of the week. 8 of them said they were going to win and compete for the national championship next year. That's what I've gotten 8 times from people. New Zealand, that's cool. Opal says something just doesn't add up. I think it will eventually all come out in the wash. Penn State couldn't afford another scandal, so they paid him off. Oh, he said hello to people and expected the same. Well, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Tell the listener in the future from New Zealand to help us all out and send us some lottery picks. Yeah, exactly. You can look up the numbers. They should be out there. That's pretty cool. I mean, if this were like an extra version of Back to the Future, that's what we would be doing. I mean, you could figure that out. Crank up the DeLorean. Let's go get those lottery numbers. I mean, Marty in the second one, they had the sports book, right? The sports almanac. Sad how much you can love a movie. Like I love the original Back to the Future. And then as it went on, I watched the second one. Didn't really like it. It wasn't god awful. And I can't even make it through the Western one, the third one. By that time, I'm just all used up. Every scenario has been played out and contradicted. And one of my all-time favorite movies is Jurassic Park. And every sequel has sucked. David, now see this. This is what the majority of you are like, mindset. 8 wins and a decent bowl will be solid step forward next year. Exactly. Anyone, if they go 8-4 and go to a bowl, you're going to be ecstatic. And that's realistic. Absolutely. Now see that I don't really like. He said, hello, David. Was that David Teal? He said, the guy just sat there. He said, hello, David. Then the guy said, hey, coach, and asked his question. That's a little crack that's showing through there a little bit. David Hale. Oh, it was David Hale from ESPN. Gotcha. Right. Pride. National championship question mark? Well, bless their hearts. Yeah. 8 people said they're going to contend for the national title next year. But ZZ Top was in the Western. Yeah, I know. And how do you mess up Jurassic Park? Right? How do you mess up Jurassic Park? They just had the latest one that's just apparently, I will never see it because it's just god awful, but it made like $1 billion because people love dinosaurs worldwide. Dinosaurs are going to do well at the box office, yet they still screwed that thing up, that whole franchise. I guess the one with Chris Pratt, the first one, with Bryce Dallas Howard. Remember that one? That one's okay. Not good necessarily, but I can watch that one because I like Chris Pratt. He's great. Now that BDST is global, we need an action-packed TV series starring Rick and Balboa touring the world in an RV, solving problems. And the theme song by Charlie Pride. Yeah, I would do that. Only movies I like is horror for the most part. Bruce Campbell and Evil Dead. Yeah, I did. No, I have. Knicks fan. That's a good movie. I think Bruce Campbell is good in everything. That's crazy about the national championship text. 8 of them. I could see 8 or 9 wins if Franklin hits on all cylinders. Has Prometheus been medicating folks to say that? For them to say that? I don't know. That's a good question. Hey-oh. I want the Pop-Tart Bowl and all of its insanity. Todd Grantham will shed some light on all this and other things going on. The whole Ole Miss, this whole thing with Kiffin is fascinating. And how about this? Did you see this where John Summerall was all set to go to Florida? And it made the rounds yesterday morning. We're talking national pundits. This wasn't a rumor. This wasn't. And then about 2 hours later, he canceled the trip and said, I'm done. I don't want to be part of their coaching search. Florida. That's how crazy it is down there. Right? I mean, he's at Tulane. He'd make about 10 to 12 million a year. And we're talking college American football, in case you're in another country, by the way. The question just came up in chat. And he just pulled himself out of this. He said, I'm done. I'm not going there. We'll talk to Todd about that too. What's Florida going to do? They all want Lane Kiffin. The president, everybody down, the boosters have said it's Lane or bust. Well, Lane, who knows? And this is one of the big advantages Tech has by having Franklin, right? They can just sit back now and watch all this other stuff and think, but boy, that's not us. Thank goodness. Oh, awesome. Morris is going to the Tennessee-Florida game. Let me know, Morris. I know you go. Let me know, man. Hey, welcome. Okay. Steelers fan. Hey, we talk a lot of NFL here. But right now, the big story here is college. So welcome. I hope you subscribe, and I hope you hang around. My dad was a lifelong Steelers fan. So I don't know what's going on down there. I mean, for John Sumrall to have an opportunity to go to Florida, I don't know if he heard kickback immediately to pull out and then to cancel it and then say you don't want any part of it. That's wild, man. That's wild. But that happened, and we'll get an update because Todd shares the agent of many of these coaches. And, of course, Jimmy Sexton was his agent. So he's got a lot of insight to this whole thing that a lot of people don't get, which is I'm happy to be able to bring it here on the show because these are folks that know exactly what went on and not what is being presented as what went on. Opal said, I snuck into movies to see Evil Dead when I was a kid, and he had just cut her head off. Yeah, well, that's what happens when you break the rules, Opal. Good stuff. Good stuff. No, but that's a good call. Good call, Knicks fan. Good call. Yeah. It's always a good call. We're joined by this gentleman. He's the lead writer for Sideline. What's going on, Andy Bitter? How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Hey, we're all right, man. We're talking Evil Dead, talking horror movies in chat this morning. It's pretty cool.
When did Evil Dead come out?
Ooh,
I feel like I sort of kind of missed that. I don't know if it was too young for that or exactly when that came out. I kind of missed that. I don't know.
We'll find out. Chat will let us know when it came out. Hey, anything happened in Blacksburg? Any news? What's going on?
Yeah, a little bit of a pomp and circumstance yesterday. I mean, man, what a difference 2 months makes, right?
Yeah.
I've never seen sort of a buzz around the football program like that. People, even with past coaching hires, I haven't seen it quite like this. This is sort of a momentous moment for Virginia Tech here. This is a proven coach that came in. He knows how to operate. He knows how he wants to operate. I think brings a lot of excitement to the fan base. I imagine donations are going to be really juiced right now. And, perhaps Virginia Tech can put this sort of, stagnating era behind them and get back to playing football how they're used to.
That's a good word. Stagnating is a good word. And I think that's what's added to the excitement with what happened with the Brent Pry hire and how that failed. And now you get a name. I think Tech kind of backed himself in the corner a little bit to make it a bigger name, and they got it. They got the guy. Now, granted, they weren't in competition with anybody, but they finally signed his name on the dotted line. And you're right. I'm getting the same thing here, man. It's crazy how people have responded, and good for them. It's a fan base that deserves to be happy because they've supported this program through thick and thin.
Yeah, and it's been real thin lately.
It has.
I mean, you look back at the last, it's been 9 years since they've had a 10-win season. If UVA wins this finale here and makes the ACC title game, UVA will have 2 ACC championship game appearances since Virginia Tech's last one.
Wow.
How is that normal for a program that has dominated that series so much over the last 20 years? So it's just it's an odd place that the Hokies have been in. And, yeah, the fan base deserves some good news, and yesterday was good news for them. It was a real rousing introduction press conference, and I think people are buzzing in a way I haven't seen them before.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Well, and now I guess big recruiting weekend on top of that too, right? I mean, it's going to come out and it's going to culminate in that. We've already been getting a lot of words about this. Could be a massive weekend of recruits and so forth. I'm sure he will be there and he'll be trying to get things jump started. And I'm sure he's already been doing that for a while now. Whenever he decided he was going to come to Virginia Tech, I'm sure he's been working on his staff. When do you expect news like that to break with the staffs and so forth?
I mean, there's staffers here already working. I met a couple of them yesterday. I don't think they've formally been announced or anything like that, but they're here, they're working. A lot of it personnel guys, because I think that's obviously critical if you're trying to do this sprint to the finish before signing day and try to get all these players in here and organizing visits and making your pitch at the last second here for them to come to Virginia Tech. So I think you'll see more of the coach side of stuff once the season ends.
Yeah,
a lot of player personnel guys can leave their current jobs, and you're not really going to see any assistant coaches leave their current jobs to come to this one until the season is over. So I would imagine you'll start seeing staff announcements week and a half, provided these guys are employed right now, which I think most of them will be. But that's a typical timeline with that. I think you'll see that come out in 10 days here, however long we are until after that Virginia game.
People have asked me, and I'll ask you, it's probably not a question but I'll ask your opinion about it. How many of current staff members do you think may be retained? I mean, everybody says Fontel Mines because of his recruiting. He has a prior relationship and he knows him very well. I mean, you have any guess as to how many of the current staff, if any, will be retained?
Yeah, I think it makes sense for a couple of them to be retained. I mean, Fontel Mines has done a great job recruiting the state and getting this receiver room talent up. And I don't think they've produced to the level that they'd hope there. And that's maybe a question mark on this whole thing from a recruiting perspective, and where that room is now compared to where he came in. I think that's a vast difference. So he would make sense. I mean, James Franklin has tried to hire Fontel Mines before.
You're right.
That's part of the reason Fontel got all the raises here, is I think Penn State was pursuing him last time they had an opening. So that would make sense. I think Elijah Brooks would make sense. Obviously DC ties DeMatha. That is a wheelhouse recruiting zone, not only for Virginia Tech, but for James Franklin, who, coached at Maryland, lived up there, a couple different stints when he was with the Terrapins there. So that would make sense. I still think J.C. Price would make sense. I don't know if that will happen, but those first two don't really have this like Virginia Tech, born and raised type thing. J.C. Price does.
Yes.
So if you're looking for a connection to the program and the program's past, and obviously JC's done a good job on the defensive line too. You look at the tackles, the way those defensive tackles have played this year, and in the past, last year, APR and Peebles were both first team all ACC guys. I think there's been production there to go along with that other stuff that JC brings. So those would be three that I would look at that would make sense. We'll see what direction they go, because that's 3 of 10 spots if you keep all three of them in that situation. That's a lot. And a lot of guys, a lot of times coaches like to come in and bring their own guys.
JC back on the sideline. I know I got a little worried. I didn't want to reach out. I know he didn't make the trip.
Yeah, he was out at the press conference yesterday, out and about. So I wonder if he had like a bug or something like that could prevent him from going to the game.
Okay, good. I was worried it was something more serious the way they kind of presented it. I was like, whoa, but
I think they could have just said that he was sick. It might have been easier than saying personal matter, but
you're like, what? Somebody's hurt. Andy Bitter Joygus, senior writer for Tech Sideline. Virginia Tech has their football coach, and I guess the two big things that stand out for me, Tech now, like all the rest of us, can eat our popcorn and watch how all this other madness is going to unfold with hires, and recruiting roster is going to be turned upside down in all the good ways, I think, right?
I mean, you would hope it would be. This is a team that is, racing pretty quickly to a 3-9 season. So, if that's the case, the roster needs major fixing, and they got to bring in a load of talent, a bunch of guys to, replace starters who will be leaving after this year. I mean, Pry brought in a lot of transfers. A lot of them were seniors, so they're not going to be here after this. And
right.
I thought it was interesting, Franklin talking about how he builds programs.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. Yeah.
It's a high school developmental program that is supplemented by transfers. He says if you live by the portal 1 year, you're living by the portal every year, because you bring in a bunch of senior guys, they leave, you have to replace a bunch of senior guys, they leave, and the cycle continues. So, you look at his history at Penn State, it has been high school recruiting. They haven't been huge in the transfer market, but I think even he acknowledges in this first year, they're going to have to play it a little bit differently, because they're going to have to get this roster up to speed quicker than you would hope. And, the way to do that is through the transfer portal. So they're going to hit recruiting hard here in the high schools and try to develop this base level of talent that's, looking for 1-2 years down the line, but they also need some instant fixes. And that's where the portal comes in.
Yeah, that's right. That's probably where he's going to find his first quarterback, right? Out of the portal, go out and find that high school kid too you can develop. But it was going to be interesting to see how that position, because it's so important, is handled here right out of the chute by Coach.
Yeah, I would imagine. I would think that the quarterback next year is not currently on the roster.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going on the limb to say that.
No, it's not. If not, we would have seen them already on the field this year.
Probably, yes.
With the way that position's going. So that is kind of overshadowed. You mentioned, hey, we got this game with Miami. We had Florida State last week, but all that's kind of in the background. But Miami at noon, Miami is kind of a little chip on its shoulder of the latest playoff ranking. How does something like this, in your experience, you've covered college sports a long time, when this happens, you've got the interim coach who's done such a solid job keeping his team focused every week. How does this, you think, affect things the final 2 weeks for this team?
I've covered interim coaches before. I've never covered an interim coach where the new coach has been hired.
That's true.
During the season. So this is uncharted territory here. I've not seen this. I think, Montgomery, I asked him, how awkward or weird the situation is. It's like, it's sort of the same. This whole season's been strange, and he's just, I'm going to just focus on the players, focus on the task at hand, and you can't worry about all that other stuff, or is that a distraction or stuff? He has to focus on practice and preparing this team for the game. So that's how he's gone about it. Despite whatever focus that they have on the game and how singularly locked in they are into the task at hand, this is just a tough game. Miami is pretty good. I know they lost those 2 games. They're number 3 in the country in rushing defense.
Right.
What is Virginia Tech's, I'd say, strength? What is their only positive on offense is the run game.
Running the football, yeah.
Right. So, that's running straight into the teeth of the strength of this Miami defense. And if they can't get that rolling, we've seen the pass games just not up to snuff these last couple of weeks. So I think this will be a really, really tough game for the Hokies. They might be emotional. They got their new coach. I'm sure James Franklin's going to be out there doing the "Let's Go Hokies" chant between quarters. But at a certain point, you also need the talent to keep up with these dudes in Miami.
Yeah.
And I bet you Virginia Tech wish it was maybe 30 degrees colder than what it's going to be in Philly.
I know.
I was walking outside yesterday, and I'm like, this is pleasant. This feels great. I can't imagine the Miami guys are going to come in here and be like, oh, well, man, it's freezing. I don't want to be out here. And it's a noon game, so it'll be nice and perhaps sunny out for that game.
That's true. You're right.
Yeah, it'll be I don't think Virginia Tech's going to have an advantage because it's too cold. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, you do want it to be like 20, 30 degrees. Yeah, you're right. It's going to be like, oh, they're going to come in here. It feels great. This is awesome. Let's go play some ball. Well, I hope he can get through the last 2 weeks, and I hope – don't you feel like Monty's going to end up somewhere, even if not as a head coach, what he's done, he's going to be coaching somewhere next year, right?
Yeah, I don't think it'll be a head coaching job, but
No.
I think he'll find a coordinator spot again. I don't know at what level or what school, but that's what these coaches do. It's like, it's a rough situation, 1 year situation. He's been in 1 year situations.
Yes.
Auburn was a rough situation. He walked in there and Hugh Freeze is like, well, we're just going to run my offense. It's like, well, why did you hire me then?
Why am I here?
If that was the case. And, you see how Hugh Freeze's time went there over 3 years, 4 years, whatever it was. You go, well, was Monty the problem there? I don't think so. They had problems with every single OC that they had. So, he'll latch on somewhere. These football coaches always find another job. And, I still think he's a good coach. I think he just needs to find the right players and the right fit for, the system and style that he has.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. People are asking me, so I'll ask you. I think I know the answer, but they're saying, can you ask Andy here on the text line? Does this hire ever become reality if Tech had not committed the dollars that they did from the board?
No, not even close.
Correct.
I mean, the list of things that had to make this hire a reality. I mean, you had to fire Pry when you did. You couldn't fire him last year after the season. You wouldn't have gotten Franklin. You couldn't fire him now and gotten Franklin. I think that would have been tough to do. You couldn't have done it without, Witt sounding the alarm in August and be like, we need a lot more money. And you wouldn't have gotten it without the BOV immediately putting together a plan in 6 weeks saying, here's a lot more money for this program. You wouldn't have gotten it if Penn State fired their coach, who was number 2 in the country to start the year and has all the, this fantastic record over a length of 12 years, sorted out of the blue in October after a 3-game losing streak. And, I understand, people are just seeing that at the end, and they don't understand sort of the history of Penn State and Franklin. And there's a frustration there about not being able to get over the hump in big games, but it still seemed out of the blue to somebody like us looking from the outside. So it's just, it feels like the stars kind of aligned for this to happen with Virginia Tech. And I credit the selection committee for quickly pivoting once a candidate like this came out there, and they go, hey, let's go after that guy. Let's go after him hard. I mean, they were pressing from the start. Hey, let's get an answer. And before Halloween, I always thought it was a ridiculous timeline. That's when the committee wanted their initial answer. They were ready for that right away. And Bud Foster is always like, hey guys, pull it back a little bit. Let this guy breathe a little bit and come to this decision himself. And, to Franklin's credit, it sounds like he gave them a November 17th date pretty early on in the process, and he stuck to it. That's the day that he ended up signing the papers to become Virginia Tech's head coach.
What about the future of Witt now, in your opinion? Does this entrench him more in that new role, or is this like, okay, I was kept around to help negotiate this, to get this done, and now I can leave and kind of, give myself a better vibe about what I contributed toward the football program as opposed to the last 2 hires?
Yeah, I'll be honest, I have no idea. You try to read the tea leaves. Was he really involved? Yeah, he was pretty involved in this whole thing. I mean, Bud said so. McCarthy said so. Ryan McCarthy on the BOV said so. Franklin shouted him out in his opening press conference. He's relentless and had a whole bunch of other, adjectives to describe him in this process. Sort of praised Virginia Tech's alignment in this whole thing. And, perhaps that's lip service because it's an introduction press conference and you say those kind of things about the people on the dais with you. Perhaps he really feels that way. And, you look at Witt the last couple months. Perhaps I don't want to say sleep at the switch, but you look over those 10 years and the funding lagged. Is that Babcock's fault? Is that the BOV's fault for not properly funding the program? Did he need a certain makeup of the BOV to get that presentation out there and actually get results? And I don't know all those answers, but sounded the alarm about getting this money. They got the money. He played an integral role in getting Franklin here. And that's a pretty good run for a couple months. Does that make up for the previous 10 years where football struggled? I don't know, but we'll see in these upcoming months. I mean, now that the football hire is in place, perhaps the board makes a decision on the AD at this point. I'm not sure.
So I got to ask you about the Ole Miss thing with Lane. Imagine you were covering Ole Miss like you are for Tech for a similar type of site like Tech Sideline. Bizarre, this whole thing, the way it's gotten, how Ole Miss set up immediately, and now he's saying there was no ultimatum. We don't know what the real truth is, but this is unique, isn't it? I mean, I know he's in high demand, and the whole information got out there about his family's flying to 2 different places. I mean, what's your take on all that as you watch all this unfold? This is why it's so great Tech has their guy now, because they don't have to worry about any of this.
Yeah, if I'm Lane, I'd be careful about throwing away all this goodwill that you have at Ole Miss. Right?
Yeah.
Like he had that weird thing where he was Alabama's OC, but he was going to be Florida Atlantic's head coach. And then right before the championship game, Saban's like, get out of here. Just leave.
You're done.
And I thought that he got past that point in his career. It seemed like he found a place at Ole Miss that everybody really likes him there. He's got this quirky personality. He loves trolling people on Twitter and stuff like that. he proves that he can win at Ole Miss.
Yeah.
They're paying him well. I mean, he's going to be in the playoff this year probably. They could make some noise in that playoff too. Yep. Do you want to give that up to be the villain and go to LSU in this whole case? Like, I don't know. Maybe he just likes to see his name out there and in the headlines. I hope that he stays at Ole Miss. I think he's more fun at Ole Miss than he would be at LSU, where all of a sudden everybody's gunning for him, right? You're not like the cute sort of underdog troll here. You're LSU. You're expected to win in those situations. And I feel like that would be a less fun version of Lane Kiffin. So here's hoping that he stays and that the marriage can continue there with the Rebels, because I like him in Oxford more than I like him in other places.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Yeah, he can be himself there. They would, he wants to stay 10 years. They're going to let him stay 10 years. But all right, one more question before we let you go, because, man, oh, man, they're coming in for you, AB. This is great. Do you think Brent Pry is going to be any part of James Franklin's staff in any way at Virginia Tech?
Initially, I find that hard to believe.
I do too. I get pushback. I get a lot of pushback.
Yeah, I mean, it would make all the sense in the world to have some kind of role on that. But think about put yourself in that position where you've been fired from a place that you called your dream job. It would be tough for me to walk back in those doors and take a lesser position, even as much as I respect and have a friendship with Franklin in Pry's case, and even how much you love the program and those players and stuff. It still would be swallowing your pride a heck of a lot to go and do that. And now, a year from now, could that be different? Perhaps. But I mean, it was a little over 2 months ago when he was fired. That hurts. I mean, that hurts, man. If the Athletic came back to me, 2 months after firing, laying me off, I think I'd be like, no. I don't want to do that. And I liked working there, but I wouldn't want to do that. So it's tough. And, he got a buyout. These coaches get these millions of dollar buyouts. If I was in his case, maybe I just kind of want to sit back for a year. Just go, let me sort things out. Let me get my head straight. Right. I don't want to make an emotional, rash decision to jump back into a situation that's just not going to be right for me. Other than that, it would make all the sense in the world because of that relationship with Franklin. He's been his coordinator in 2 different spots. I'm not saying a coordinator job with Tech necessarily. It could be some other role, but I don't know. We'll see. I asked Franklin about that yesterday. He sort of danced around the topic, didn't really give an answer on it. And I think it's maybe because it's tough to give an answer on it. It's tough to say yes or no in that situation. So we'll see how it plays out. And I'd be surprised if that ended up happening right away, though.
Yeah, I agree. That's kind of the way I feel about it. I don't think Tech would have a problem with it. Hey, coach, if you want to do that, that's you. Go do what you want to do. But, yeah, I'm with you. It'd be tough for him to go, yeah, I can't wait to go back in the locker room where I'll have hardly any say.
Right. I mean, it's human nature. Right. It's not even this specific situation. It just feels like human nature. That would be a tough thing to do.
Yeah. All right, brother. Good stuff, man. I know how busy you've been, and you'll be doing your usual role on Saturday, tweeting throughout the game at noon. I know you love the Nooners. That's good stuff. And
it's good. I could have used one of those last week. It was a brutal drive through the night to the Jacksonville airport.
When did you get back? How did that work? How did your flights go? How did all that work?
They went horribly. I drove through the night after the game to get to Jacksonville at 5 a.m. to hit a flight, got on the plane and fell asleep immediately and woke up and we were still on the ground.
Oh.
Because the AC wasn't working, so we had to deplane. They ended up rerouting us through Chicago and then coming back to Roanoke.
Oh, my Lord.
I didn't get home till like 5 or 6 o'clock. It was brutal travel. I would not recommend. Do not recommend. So next time, please just give me a noon start in Tallahassee so I can get out of there at a reasonable time.
Well, thank goodness you're done with that, brother.
Yeah.
You get to stay on the ground for a while.
Yeah, you'd be able to be a little bit easier to get to.
Whew. Wow. All right, man. Well, have a great rest of the week. We'll be watching on Twitter this weekend.
All right. Sounds good.
There you go. Good job. Andy Bitter, as always. Wow. Rerouted through Chicago. That's what I was kind of worried was going to happen to Burnip, too. Like when he was that's just bad, man. Just bad. Good stuff. Todd Grantham's going to join us next. Hit us up on the McClellan Chiropractic chat room. We have BDST shirts, $20 here if you're local, $30 now shipped, and that's going to stay. I don't care. That's it. Lost a little on shipping, but that's okay. I'm not charging anybody any more money than that. $10 is plenty. Screw that. I'll eat it. No big deal. Ready, Set, Fun, readysetfun.com. Go check them out. Talk to Bob Christ, bobchrist11@gmail.com. Yep. If you have a team at your school, you want to raise some money, they just have texts ready to go. They raised $4,000 for the softball team at Floyd. Travis Williams, Professional Incorporated, sponsor of our text line. Residential, commercial garage doors, they need workers. Hit him up. It's a career. If you don't like your job now, if you're out of work now, if you've been laid off, you should go see Travis. It's worth it. He'll train you and get you ready to go, and it'll be a great career. Great pay, $20 to start an hour, great insurance benefits, and a guy whose a business has been around for 38 years. So they kind of know what they're doing. Thanks to Lara Ramsey, everybody National Bank member, FDIC, the exclusive banking partner, BDST, and my exclusive bank for the last 35 years. Great people. Went in there yesterday. I like going in. You can drive through, but I like going in and just talking to the ladies. They're great. They're great. They do a great job. They do just a great, great job. BDST Fan Question of the Week brought to you by the attorney Ryan Price, 701 West Main Street in Radford, Trust and Estate Planning. And the question has been, what will Tech's record be next year? First year for James Franklin, 2026. We'll reveal that tomorrow. Little River Heating and Air, 25 Radford Street in Christiansburg, 540-553-2971. Go see Charles Lee. Give them a call. They are the best at what they do. Each and every day, we're presented by Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment. Of course, we had Jonathan Sweet on. We're going to try to arrange some other folks to come on here very shortly. They're outstanding, and I'm looking forward to that because this whole rekindling of the racetrack has got everybody excited, and they should. Family Fencing, Jason Green, sponsor of our studio here in Reiner. They're going to work throughout the winter time. Let them come, give you a free quote. It's awesome, and I think I'm going to utilize them as well. Haven't decided yet what I'm doing, Jason, but I'll let you know. And Mark Hunley, McClellan Chiropractic, best in the biz, all the latest technology. We're off Peppersford Road. They got a huge facility. It's a great place, and he is terrific. And I know several people that have started to go over there since we started talking about it. And I'm telling you, man, it's great. It's great. He is really good at what he does. Go see my friend, Brad Harvey, Harvey's GM, all the great people there. If you want to pick up your next vehicle without any hassle whatsoever. Thanks to James Lawson, Lawson's Mobile Home Supply, 300 North Franklin Street in Christiansburg, 540-381-8011. And the NRV Super Bowl, 382-5525. They got a lot of things going on over there. I'd like to do more things with them, and I hope we get to the point where we can because it's good stuff. They've got Jacob Ratcliffe and Mike Phillips. Congrats. You are the Scotch Doubles champs. Companies sign up now for holiday parties. Give them a call, 382-5525. They're going to have late night boogie bowling coming up Friday and Saturday nights. Thanks again to Brandon at Top Shelf Apparel. The T-shirts are really, really, really good. They're really nice. And it's all because of Brandon. So thank you, Brandon. You're the best. You're the best. It's good. Todd Grantham will join us here. And we're going to talk more about James Franklin coming to Blacksburg. Someone who knows James Franklin as well as any. Matter of fact, he knows James Franklin better than anybody here. And knows more about him than anybody in Blacksburg. Todd's coached at so many spots and had a lot of run-ins, literally and figuratively, with James Franklin. Are the BDST T-shirts rugged enough for the Australian outback? Yes. Yes, they are. Hey, good morning. I don't know who that is, but somebody on the text line said good morning. So good morning right back at you. My answer, Jimmy says, to the BDST question, I think 7-5. That might come up today, legal counsel Richie Davis. I'm not sure. We'll see. That might come up. The old Georgia Vanderbilt game. By the way, go black and gold. Got a regional championship. Thank you, Rodney, and tell him I'm sorry. I'll reach out to him as well. Hopefully he understands pure physical exhaustion. Does he want the high-quality standard of article that I've been producing? Or does he want just, hey, and then I hope he understands Zombie Rick is not the guy you want penning an article. Dwight Vick joins us coming up. 8 o'clock. Now joining us. The toughest hombre that I ever came across on the practice fields at Pulaski County High School. Longtime college football coach Todd Grantham. What's up, TG? Good morning, bro.
Hey, what's up, Rick? How you doing this morning?
Doing all right, man. You are forever entrenched. No, you're a good friend, but I go back to when, I was just a little skinny-ass sophomore, and you were the guy, and you were one of that group. And I remember when Coach Hicks came out, and I was one of, only about 5 of us made travel team. That's how deep we were. It was an honor. Right. And I was one of those, and you were a big part of that because you taught me how to go through one-on-one drills, hamburger. You were coaching then. I don't think you realized it, but you were coaching then.
I think that drill's illegal now, but go ahead.
And we'd get lined up, and inevitably we'd get in the chute, and I'd be there banging heads with you. And then eventually you're like, look, man, we can get through. This is what you need to do. And you would show me how to be able to go through motions without getting your butt kicked all the time. I learned a lot. Sure. So thank you. Thank you for all that.
Experience, man. Experience. I was there one time myself.
All right. A lot going on, man. I know you're well. Hope the family. How's your family doing, by the way? How's everybody doing?
They're doing great. My daughter's at Troy. She works in the football office, and they're getting ready for a bowl game. My son's still at Oklahoma State and doing a great job there. And then my wife's taking care of all of us. So, how
she does. She's actually the head coach, isn't she?
Yeah, she's the head coach. She makes all the decisions, what we're going to do and how we're going to do it and all that kind of stuff. I just follow her.
Some news in Blacksburg. James
Franklin. Man,
it's
exciting time for Hokies, and it's obviously exciting time. The good thing about it being an exciting time, though, is when you get those emails or those phone calls from the Hokie Club people. Now you're going to feel good about donating your money because they're going to be coming asking because they're going to have to raise some money for the NIL, and you'll feel good about it now because you got your guy. So it'll be an exciting time.
Yeah, and we found out, Bud Foster kind of let us know that was the guy. There was not any kind of really other thought process once he became available. That call was made quickly. And, Andy just said, hey, yeah, he kind of told him, I'm going to wait. I know Chet got a little antsy because he was waiting for a reason, right? He was waiting just to kind of see if anything else. Now, it's not going to be said by James Franklin. He's not going to come out and say that, but we know what goes on, and you know what goes on behind the scenes.
Well, it's kind of like baseball, man. It doesn't matter how you get on first, just get on first, right? I mean, he's on first, but now, I think that, going into the weekend on Friday, it kind of became evident. They kind of leaked stuff to Pete Thamel. Anytime you guys see Pete Thamel get a story, I mean, it's leaked, and it's leaked for a reason. It's kind of unique. It's kind of fun watching it, like on 3 Sports, like when they leak a guy's getting ready to interview with a team. Well, it's leaked for a reason. Right. So all that stuff's kind of fun and unique to watch. But, I think at the end of the day, what really happened is they went into the weekend with the idea that, okay, what are the legitimate shots that we have from a coaching opportunity? And it became pretty evident as you got into Sunday that it was really, hey, how serious am I about the Virginia Tech job? And what do I want this, or do I want to pursue another avenue? And Coach Franklin obviously loves coaching. He likes the competition. He likes the attention that he can receive from leading the program. You know what I'm saying? and all of that stuff. And look, it's a good job, and they really they've they've said they're going to donate more money, or they're going to have more resources. So that's going to give him an opportunity to take that program to a place that can make, Hokie fans feel proud and feel good. And, it's kind of like it's the honeymoon phase right now. I always call this the honeymoon phase, just because everything's going great and you haven't had to play a game yet. So it'll be an exciting time. People can watch it and just watch how it progresses and see what happened. What's interesting is I'm always big into like the hires and why, because usually things like when if an offensive guy gets fired, it's usually a defensive oriented guy. If a defensive guy gets fired, it's usually an offense. That's kind of it's always the opposite of what you do. And if you go back and look, what's interesting, like when Brent got hired, the slogan was kind of like, "Hey, home, let's get back to home." And his strengths were his ability to recruit the state of Virginia, because he had done that, during his time. But as you got through it, the one thing that became frustrating to friends of mine that are still Hokie guys and all that was their ability to win one-score games. They were actually 1-12 in those games. And what's kind of unique about this situation is that you really went out and hired the professor relative to the guy you had hired. And when you look at Franklin's resume or his strengths, it is recruiting and his ability to recruit, Virginia, the DMV, and that kind of thing. But the downside to him, or the negative, is ability against ranked opponents, which that means they're good teams. But the other thing on that is his one-score record is 24-34. So you say, well, what does that compare to? To give you an example, like Nick's one-score record, Saban's one-score, one-possession record was, I think, 30-20. Okay. And to give you a little bit closer, like Kirby Smart at Georgia right now, his one-score record is 22-10. So just imagine, those things matter, And the one thing that's unique about that, because my whole background, like for 13 years, I was in the National Football League. So I have, 15 to 20 years of college and 13 years of NFL. The one thing in pro football that everybody talks about, one possession games, because at the end of the day, like for example, this year, the National Football League, 55% of their games are decided on the last possession of the game. There's one score. Okay. Well, in theory, if you look at the landscape of college football right now, you can pay guys. You're giving them money. So what's going to happen is you're going to have more parity in college football. In other words, Ole Miss is now 11-1. They got a chance to host a playoff game. Well, if you didn't have this NIL situation, they would not be in that situation now. So you're going to get more teams that are better. Okay. Well, if more teams are better, then you're actually going to have more one possession games. So how are you going to combat that and work on that you can have success? Because you have to work on it. The part of being a good coach is to look at, when you win a game, we won the game, but how did we play? Okay. And what things did we do well? What things we got to get better at? Just like when you lose the game, it's the same process. That was the one thing about Nick. Nick was so even keel that whether you won or lost, it was more the process of the decisions we made within the game. Okay. And, like when I was with him at Ohio State, we played Ohio State, they were number one in the country. And I got my tail chewed out because I called the same blitz 3 times in a row to win the game. And I'm like, well, hell, they didn't block it the first time or the second time. Well, the third time they actually blocked it, but it was an incomplete pass. But in theory, he was really right. We really should have changed it up, but we won the game. But the process of it was, we need to be a little more flexible, or have a little different thought process on the next play. And that was always his deal. So I think that's one thing that's unique is how are you going to handle these one possession games? Because college football, with the parity you're going to have, is going to be just like the NFL, and you're going to be able to, have to do that. So that's one thing that I think is unique right there. The one thing that Franklin does have an advantage on, though, is like Brent Pry's obviously a person he's talked, he's trusted, and Brent really, the blueprint at Virginia Tech during Brent Pry's era there was James Franklin, because the only coach he had really ever worked for at that level he had worked for him at Vanderbilt and at Penn State. So that's really what he knew. Now the differences are Franklin's is a more accomplished head coach than Brent was. Brent was a first-time guy. There's going to be more resources financially committed to the program, so that's going to allow different choices as in, hey, who do you get to hire? Because sometimes you can be stuck into I got to hire someone, but here's your salary range, here's your pool, and maybe that's not necessarily the best guy for the program or the situation, but based upon our resources, this is who I got to hire. And I've been in that situation before, and I think the biggest thing with Franklin is he's going to have an ability to like call Brent and say, all right, tell me about the roster. Okay. And obviously the guys that play now, like the coaches coming in, they can look and they can grade those guys themselves. But I'm talking about hey, does the guy work in the weight room? What's the guy's work ethic like? What's his character like? Is he a team guy? All of those things. Yeah. Is he always looking for money? Does it, who represents him? Is his agent always calling, wanting another contract? Those kind of things. So all of that. So you're going to have a really big advantage on the roster you have right now on the misses, and also the guys that necessarily maybe don't play. Like we always have those guys that are redshirted, and then halfway through their redshirt year, they're like kicking tail on scout team. Like, man, this guy's going to be a really good player. Well, you don't know that unless you're at practice every day and you see the guy. Well, Brent's going to be able to tell him, those guys, and here are the guys I can keep, and you can weed the other ones out. So that way it was interesting. So he made the comment about the portal this year. And I think that'll be a part of the portal is you're going to have to remove the people that we had misses on. And it's going to allow you to bring guys in to create competition, which makes your team better. So I think that'll be a big thing. And the other thing is with Franklin, okay, this is the blueprint that Brent used, which is really what he learned from me. And there will be failures in that. So how do I tweak those? What are my adjustments to those? Because we're really coming from the same tree. And I think that gives him an advantage, coming in to allow him to maybe get a little bit quicker start than you may think. With the program and everything. So that stuff will help them. And the other thing, they changed the rule. They changed the rule about halfway through the year this year. So, for example, when I got hired last year, the portal had already been open for 3 days. Right. And we had already lost 3 kids that were leaving before I even got hired. So those 3 were gone. Well, we only had 17 days to make our roster, basically. And everybody says, well, there's 2 portals. Well, it's like going shopping, man. Like as soon as that market opens, man, all the good stuff's gone, right? Like that's right. When you get into the spring portal, it's like dire straits, man. It's like you're really looking. So I think the point of that is the portal doesn't open till January 2nd. Okay. So now that Tech is not going to be in a bowl game, you're going to be able to sit down with every kid. You're going to be able to know exactly what you think of that person, that player, and you can make a decision that, yeah, we want you to stay or we think you need to move on. So you're going to be able to do that with every kid before they're allowed to even go in the portal, okay? Then the next thing is kids cannot go in the portal till January 2nd. Like you cannot talk to people until January 2nd. So now it's going to allow you to get your staff in place. You're going to know based upon your information and intel with Brent, hey, these are the guys we got to remove from our program, or these are the guys we think can play. And you're going to have your roster and it's going to have holes in it, okay, based upon the information Brent's given you as far as, hey, we only have like 1 left tackle. Well, we got to get a left tackle. Hey, we don't have a skill guy outside that's got, any length. Or, hey, we need a quarterback or whatever the situation is. Defensively, we need some size up front. I mean, whatever those things are, well, now you can target that and be more specific in the portal because you kind of have a feel for what your team is. And that'll allow you to have better targets in the portal, which is going to allow you to have a better team next year. So,
how much concern should Tech fan, and I have a hard time getting over it still because we may not know, should they have about what happened at Penn State? I mean, you're one play away from playing for the national championship. You have 2 bad games, and they were willing. They ended up not going to have to pay it, obviously, at least that kind of number for the buyout, but they were willing and had it raised immediately to get him out of there. How much concern should Tech have bringing that into this? I know that's a separate entity, but that still seems to me, Todd, is a weird reaction for 2 bad games.
You know, the state of college football right now, people make pretty some impulse decisions. For example, you know, James Franklin is fired, you know, and really 3 weeks after they were in overtime against, at that time, the number 1 team in the country, you know, and that decision was made. You go to LSU and Brian Kelly won 70% of his games and he was fired. So, I mean, there's a lot more impulse decisions made after a game these days for whatever reasons. Okay. I think at the end of the day, you got to say, hey, there's no perfect player. There's no perfect person. And the biggest thing is how do you learn from your mistakes? How do you learn from the situations you've been in before, whether you were successful or not? And can you have the success you need moving forward? So I think the biggest thing is when you look at that, he's obviously built a program. He built one at Vanderbilt. He built one at Penn State. There's obviously things that he would like to work on and improve. So I think the biggest thing there would be is as a competitor, you got to look at yourself and say, all right, what do I got to do to make sure that when these situations come up, because they will come up again, how are we going to be successful? So I think that's a thing that he's an experienced coach. He's a guy that's going to work to have success for Virginia Tech. And I think you just go through the season and you're going to have to let it play out. But I think that a guy that's as smart as him acknowledges those things. I don't think he may not do it, you know, necessarily in public, but here are the things we got to work on. And I would expect those things to be addressed, and it allow him to be successful when they come back up, you know, the next time. You know, the thing that's interesting is like the whole A+ hire and everything. Like when Fuente got hired, that was an A+ hire.
Absolutely.
Okay. And he did a great job the first 2 years. And for whatever reasons, the way his ability within the program to develop, recruit, whatever those things were, it turned into a bad situation. You know what I'm saying? And that wasn't just like I was close to the Billy Napier. Like when we were at Florida, and look, we had to get better on defense, and the whole COVID thing really affected us. But at the end of the day, we had went to 3 straight New Year's Six games and had just played in the SEC championship game, and Dan got fired and Billy Napier was hired, and that was an A+ hire. Well, they've yet to go to a legitimate bowl game since, and now they fired him. Mm-hmm. So just like Brian Kelly, when Brian Kelly was hired at LSU, that was an A+ hire. It was like he was able to pull him from Notre Dame. Well, he did win 70% of his games. Obviously, he rubbed some people the wrong way. His personality can be a little bit hard at times. And he was ended up fired within the 4th year of his deal. And then you go to guys that are, say, not the A+ guys, meaning they're kind of average or below. And they don't want to say that, you know, because it's like you're starting. It's just like recruiting. When you look at a recruiting deal and they rank guys, nobody had a bad recruiting class. You know, everybody got a good recruiting class.
That's right.
But like Kurt Signetti, when he went to Indiana, that was not raved about. And you look at that situation now, I mean, it's pretty good. Just like Jimmy Johnson. So I was pretty close to that whole thing because really Jimmy Johnson really set up Miami and Miami of Florida to what it is with national championships and being as dominant as they were. He was barely 500 as a coach at Oklahoma State. So sometimes you're a good coach, and based upon your resources, this is who we are. You know what I'm saying? And that comes about quite a bit. You know, I mean, hey, look at Auburn right now. Auburn's a pretty good example because there's some similarities between Auburn and Virginia Tech. But like when Gus Malzahn was there, he went to the national championship, and they actually lost to Florida State. And he won 70% of his games. But they always tweeted on that solid, 8-4, 9-3, after the bowl game, and everybody felt they underperformed. And, that the fans feeling that kind of affected the administrators, and they make a decision. So they fired a guy. Well, they're getting ready to hire their third coach since Gus left, and they've yet to be the SEC championship game or have 10 wins. Sometimes you are what you are, and you got to fight to stay at that level. And then every third year or whatever, you can break the door, knock the door down, and get to where you want to go. That's a little bit higher. So sometimes as a good coach, you create your standard, and it's hard to achieve because you really outperform the norm and everything.
The time in between could have been a lot shorter, could have been very soon after when Tech pursued him. It was clear that he was checking out other opportunities.
Right.
Was there anybody who was ever a serious threat to take him away from Virginia Tech?
I don't really think so. I think that you can always look at the glass half full or half empty when you think that. In other words, obviously he was looking to see what was out there and what was available, and compare it to the Virginia Tech situation. So look, when you take one of these jobs, whether it's as a head coach, a coordinator, whatever, they're hard jobs and they're very time consuming, and you're going to have to invest a lot into it. So the one positive to that is you can say, all right, he recognizes, just like as a player. So when I would recruit a player, and I'm at Florida and they're being recruited by Alabama, they're being recruited by all these other schools. Well, I want to make sure that when they come there, they know this is the place for them, because it's going to be work and you're going to have to roll your sleeves up because we've got to get better. So I think that the flip side of that comment is, it's obvious that was the case, but at the same time, he knows now this is where I need to be. This is where I want to be, because that's the choice he made. And this is where I've got to go to work, because there's going to be work, because it's obviously the roster has to be overhauled. It's obviously you've got to attract some new players. And if you're adding the kind of resources they're saying they're going to add, well, that's a change in attitude. That's a change in the thought process of the administration at Virginia Tech. And they may need guidance on that, because they've never been that route before with that kind of resources to make sure that does happen. So I think that the biggest thing with that question is to just say, hey, it doesn't matter how he got here. He's our guy. He knows he wants to be here because he made that decision and he went through the thought process. And now it's time to get to work and improve the program.
Well, and we'll see how it unfolds. We know the talent level is going to, because what he does best is recruit. I mean, that's what he does best. He's going to need a strong staff, right?
There's no question that, he did coach at Maryland, so he's going to have the DMV ties. He's obviously coached, at Penn State, which has, the Virginia ties. The one thing I'll say about that, Penn State's not going away. Like when I first became a coach at Virginia Tech, Penn State was a strong, team in the state of Virginia, because it's a really easy drive to Penn State from, particularly down when you start looking at that Virginia Beach area. And actually, when Joe Paterno was there, they were the first school that started the whole offer guys as sophomores and get them to commit as juniors, which was like a whole new thought process in recruiting. And they were a part of that. And honestly, they got a couple guys out of that, but it also hurt their program, meaning it didn't pan out the way that people perceived it panning out, because what happened is you would offer guys at that time that were kind of ahead of the curve as, say, sophomores, but then come your junior year, you would find a guy that might be a little bit better. He was a little bit more of a late developer. But Penn State has always been a mainstay in the state of Virginia from a recruiting standpoint. And that's not going to change. Penn State's going to recruit the state of Virginia, and you're going to have to battle those guys. So obviously recruiting is really his strength. So that'll be something that he'll have to really hone in on to be able to get, because, good players make good coaches, and if you're able to get those kind of players, then you can have the success that everybody wants to have.
Well, before we let you go, I got to ask you about these two situations. Bizarre with what happened with John Sumrall yesterday with the whole Florida thing, and what's going on with Lane Kiffin. How much of that is reality? How much of that is what's going on with the whole LSU Lane Kiffin thing?
You know what's crazy is it's kind of sad to be honest with you from a fan's perspective. I mean, if you really think about it, they have a chance to be 11-1. They're probably going to host a playoff game, and you're really, as a fan, you've had some rough years. As a booster, you've donated whatever you donated to the NIL, and this situation is coming up, and your head coach may not be there for the playoff game. So I think that really needs to be looked at from a hiring cycle to allow this season to play out. So I think that's something that, and I understand the whole timing of, hey, getting kids in January and all that, but that's really a sad situation for the fan base and the players, because the players have worked their tail off to get in this position. And now at the end, it could end up being a situation where, they don't have their head coach. And what's unique about that is LSU, so when Nick first went to LSU, Miss Terry actually went down to look at the place, but you didn't hear about it because you didn't have social media.
That's right.
So so that's not like an uncommon thing. So when Nick first went to LSU, he sent Miss Terry down to, hey, I want to know what the facilities look like. Hey, I want to know what the grades of the players are. What's the academics? What do the players look like? And that was the one thing that excited Nick, is she kept saying about how good the players look. These players look pretty good. I don't know if they play or not, but they look pretty good as I'm walking by them. And she looked like, what's the housing? What's the community? So she did all of that back when Nick was. But because there wasn't social media then and everything, it didn't play out like that. What happens now is, because of social media, things get moved up. So with this whole situation with, Florida, LSU, Ole Miss, at some point, somebody's going to press and want to answer. So if that's the direction you want to go, you're going to have to tell them. So it's going to be interesting, I would say, over the next 7 days to see how the whole thing plays out. But it's really interesting because Nick actually did the same thing back when he took the job, as far as had his wife go down and check it out and see what she thought about it. So I think it'll be entertaining for the fans over the next 7 days.
Where do you think Lane Kiffin's coaching in 2026?
I mean, I tell you what, I don't even know if I'd want to lay a bet on that, because that might change with the wind. I think it's obvious that he has, and that's what happens when you have good jobs and good opportunities. I think that there's a part of him that likes all three. Okay. And to be honest, he's going to have to sit down. He's going to have to write down, here are the positives of each place, here are the negatives, and where can I achieve my goals and be the happiest? So that it kind of becomes a balance thing. And I think that's where he is in his life. So I think that it's going to be interesting to see. I think everything's speculative now, but I would say this: you're not going to look at other schools if you don't intend to go there. So I think it comes down to what's his decision based upon the two he's visited, and then go from there. And I think he'll just decide which one gives him the best opportunity to, win a national championship, because, his predecessors, Pete Carroll, who he has a lot of respect for, and Nick both won national championships. So at the end of the day, I think that's something that he'd want to be a part of that group, and which school gives him the best chance to win a national championship. So I think that's the one that he'll end up going to.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And you have a little bit of insight on what Arkansas might be doing soon, right? It kind of seems like that name. There's one name's been tied to that job for a long time.
Yeah, it's interesting. I personally thought if Bobby had won a game or two, that, with his background there, that he may have actually gotten the job. But with their success now, it changes. What's crazy is it changes with the win. Obviously, the guy in South Florida, Golish is going to have a chance to be that guy. I saw where Fitzgerald interviewed the other day. They're a little bit in a situation where they're probably not, their NIL is not what it needs to be. So therefore, you're not going to be able to get the kind of players in. So that's going to be one of those that you're going to have to see what are the choices of the candidates they got. Meaning, okay, if I know that I have a choice between two schools and Arkansas is one of them, you know, at the end of the day, what are the resources do I have? And then they're going to compare those resources to another school, and you're either going to have to up your resources, or he's going to have to say, hey, I can get it done with what they're giving me. So I think all of those, I think everything is going to start happening pretty quick. I think that once you get through this Saturday,
Yeah,
I think things will start happening because you're into the last game and you have the December signing day coming up. So you would like to get somebody on campus to be able to make those phone calls to try to at least salvage a handful of guys, you know, from your high school signing class, and kind of go that route. So I would expect things to be pretty ramped up, you know, after these Saturday's games.
Well, it's going to be fascinating to watch, man. And that's some terrific insight, brother. I'm just sitting here like listening, like all the people watching. This is cool to kind of get a background about how this thing works and what James Franklin's going to have success in Blacksburg. It's good stuff, man.
Good deal.
Yeah, yeah. What are you doing this weekend? Watching football? Hanging out with fam? What are you doing?
Yeah, I'll hang out, watch a little football. Might do a little fishing. You know, I'm down in Georgia at my lake house, so the fishing's still okay here. So I like fishing. You know, I actually bought some property and have I built my own pond, and it's pretty cool. And I got 110 acres, so I got deer running everywhere.
Yeah,
and all my neighbors hunt. Okay, well, I don't hunt, so all the good bucks are on my property because they don't hear gunshots. So like all my neighbors are mad at me because I got all the big deer. So I'm like, hey man, that's just a part of the process. So I'll be driving to my pond, and all of a sudden I'll see a big buck run by me, and it's because he knows I don't have a gun with me. So anyway, all my neighbors are mad at me.
Oh yeah, I forgot. I got to ask you real quick because I promised. You remember our sock hops after the games on Friday?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You never came off the field. You played offense. You played defense. Hell, you lined up on special teams. I remember seeing you at the sock hop. I told this story. We were all sit there and watch Todd Grantham, the all-state, all-guy, and you would be out there. I don't remember who the lucky lady was. It may be her wife, but you'd be out there trying to dance, and you were completely physically exhausted, but yet you still gave that effort on the dance floor.
Well, that was a little bit of a showboat. I'll be honest with you. I could have not played in the game, and I'd have danced the same. So that part of it.
Well, kudos. I don't know where you found the energy, but
yeah, it was from the hot dog. It was from the hot dogs they left in the locker room after. You know, that was the best part of after the game. They used to bring those cooler of hot dogs down, and you could grab them. Yeah, so right. the energy came from the hot dogs left over from the concession stand.
That's good. Yeah, they always brought those down there. That's true. That's true.
That's right.
All right, my friend. We'll talk again next week. Appreciate you, brother.
All right, buddy. Y'all take care. See you.
All right,
Bye-bye.
good stuff. Good stuff. What did he say? Didn't matter how tired he was. I'm dancing the same way. It didn't matter. Yeah, Todd Grantham. That's good stuff. Thanks for reminding me, by the way, chat. One awesome guest to the next. Well, we had two awesome guests into the third. There he is. He is the former conference performer. For my money, the quintessential source on all things Virginia Tech football, my friend, Dwight Vick. What's up, DV? Good morning, brother.
Good morning, man. Great show so far. Great shows this week.
Thank you. We try. It's all because of the guests. I just get the hell out of the way.
But you got to know how to facilitate the discussion. Everybody needs some basketball, a great point guard.
Yeah, that's true. I mean? Hey, I'll take that. I'll be the Magic Johnson. I'll take
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah. The Magic Johnson without the controversy, without the side pieces and all that.
Yeah. I don't have that ability. Yeah. All right, my man. Hey, how you feeling? Tech got their guy. We'll see if Tech was definitely where he wanted to be, right? But it seems like now he's settled in, like Todd said, he made the decision, so now it's time to move forward. And your vibe on James Franklin taking over in Blacksburg?
It's a good vibe. The Pride vibe was great too, but it wasn't universal. But then again, which hire is really universal? I mean, the truth of the matter is, I've been asked, I was kind of quiet, even though I would tweet little things here and there. The truth of the matter is, every coach has flaws, and every coach has faced criticism. And every good coach had to learn from their past seasons, their past mistakes, and their past wins. You learn from your wins and your losses. I've seen Stephen A., which whatever, and other guys in media criticize this hire. Then I've seen a lot of people celebrate it. That's a good thing to me, because if it was a universal wahoo, like everybody's happy, then I would be a little bit concerned. I think the truth of the matter is, the fans and the players need to understand this, and the alumni as well. Everything starts from now. So everything he's done at Penn State and Vanderbilt, and even when he was an assistant at Maryland, matters and makes sense. But now it's a new era. So, for example, let me explain that. When I was an All-American and All-State player at Hampton High School, I played football and basketball. I was considered a very good player at the legendary Hampton High School in Hampton, Virginia. I finished my senior year ranked 4th in the nation by Sporting News at my position. The number 1 player was Orlando Pace, to give you perspective.
Wow.
And I was 4th in the nation. Now, with that being said, when I got to Virginia Tech, everything started again. It was a reset, right? Because nothing I did at Hampton High School, except my work ethic and my mindset, mattered at Virginia Tech. So Franklin's tenure starts over. It's what he does as a Hokie. You know, I've heard the criticisms about him versus top whatever teams, top 10, top 5 teams. He's 4-21, but he also has a very good record against ranked opponents. Listen, we are in the impulsive stage of life now regarding everything from the government down to college and high school and pro sports. You know, I don't know what happened in Penn State. I talked to a guy last night. I was featured on the podcast.
Cool.
Guy named Jeremiah. Guy named Jeremiah. I forgot his name, but he was a legend at Penn State, a very good player. So he's connected to Penn State like I'm connected to Virginia Tech. And he admitted that this season was very disappointing the way it started. But I always look back at, you know, seasons like the 2010 Hokies that had 2 bad losses, one being an egregious loss to JMU at home within 5 days of losing to Boise State on Monday night. Tyrod and those guys and David Wilson had a players-only meeting, Josh Oglesby and those guys, and they proceeded to win 10 straight or whatever it was, right? And then they went and lost in the Orange Bowl to Stanford, but they won the conference. Who knows if Franklin could have turned it around? I just felt like Penn State was a bit premature. So I was listening to Grantham, and he's right that Penn State will always be a force because they're a first-class program. But I don't know. Sometimes you can coach your way or make a decision out of success. I don't know if you can always match what you had if you bring another guy in. I mean, when I tell you personally, I know about this because of the kids I'm affiliated with here in the DMV. When I tell you Penn State had a stranglehold over this region, I'm telling you they did. I can name a lot of kids that had Virginia Tech over the last several years as their number 2 or number 3, but Penn State was number 1. Devin Ford, Ricky Slade, a lot of guys at Patriot High Schools, kids here in DeMatha, Maryland, and they chose Penn State. And many of them during the last 12 years chose Penn State, not just because of the Penn State brand, not because of just the NIL. They chose it because of Franklin. And I think that's the one thing I like. He met with us yesterday via Zoom at 1 o'clock. There was over 250 former football players in the Zoom. He took 2 questions because they wanted to keep it short and sweet. But he has a plan, and it's a good one, and he's going to have time to implement it. I just feel like, for me, I'm cautiously optimistic because
that's it. That's it. Right.
This is the 3rd hire, you know, in the last several years. But to me, it's the one that makes the most sense. I was not elated when they hired Fuente. I didn't know Fuente other than what he did at Memphis. I knew he had the kid Lynch that went in the first round that proved to be a disappointment. But, yeah, I mean, he did a great job with him. He got him a first-round grade. I feel like Fuente's ego got in the way of how he perceived the state of Virginia because the first 3 years he had the record for the most wins in the first 3 years as a first-year head coach in ACC history. Nobody won more in 3 games than Fuente did. People forget that. But he won those games with Beamer guys, right? Yep. But he also brought in Gerard Evans, the number 1 JUCO dual-threat quarterback in the nation at the time. So he did a great job getting guys out the portal. He did a great job flirting with Baylor, making Wick ante up the fundraising and getting the facilities improved. And then Pry came in and did a great job of mending and repairing relationships in Virginia that Fuente messed up. So both guys did a great job helping Virginia Tech in different ways get back to where they needed to be. The most disappointing factor that proved to be their detriment was they didn't win enough, right? Franklin has won a lot. The issue on him, and are you ready for this? The issue with him, according to Penn State fans and media pundits, is he couldn't win the big game. Well, that's true, but neither did Frank Beamer. Neither did a lot of college coaches have not won the big game, right? Some of your favorite guys have not won the big game. I think the big game is based on perception. Obviously, when people say that, they say it's a national championship. Well, there are a lot of guys that retire and never win a state championship in high school, a national championship in college, or a Super Bowl in the NFL. That doesn't take away their greatness if they're a great coach. So I think Virginia Tech is getting a very motivated and humble James Franklin. I think if he had been hired after winning a national championship, sometimes it's human nature to kind of rest on your laurels and feel good. And, he might not come as motivated. I just, I was not talking to him, but I was in front of him on the Zoom. I saw his presser in front of everybody. This guy's motivated, man. You're getting the guy that feels he was done wrong. And, when you come into a place like Virginia Tech that is desperate and dying for validation and credibility and wins and wants that culture to match the energy of the fans, the stadium in Southwest Virginia, you are getting a situation that could be a recipe for success. He has the GM, so there's a lot of things in place that weren't in place when Pry was there. And that's what Coach Grantham mentioned, and I agree with. So I'm cautiously optimistic. I feel good. I'm not one to celebrate press conferences, although I thought it was a great scene. And when he got emotional for Pry, when he talked about 30 years of friendship, I thought that was cool. I thought that was great because I tell you what, Pry could have been very petty, and he could have been the scorned lover that keyed Virginia Tech's car.
Yeah, he could have.
He could have.
Good way to put it.
He could have really been like, man, don't go there, man. Take the Arkansas job. Those fools don't know what they're doing. Witt is a jerk. This, and this. He could have really done it, but shows you how much Pry really loved Virginia Tech. I mean, don't think Pry was not hurt that he couldn't get it done at Virginia Tech. I think I was probably more excited for Pry when he got hired because, like Grantham said, I've said numerous times on your show, he was there during the build along with myself and other guys. So he saw it firsthand. I think he lost himself in the X's and O's, the scheming, the navigating the portal, not challenging his players, kind of sometimes remaining loyal to some guys that should have been benched and things like that. I guarantee you if Pry gets a chance to do it all over again, he'll learn from that. And I think that's what fans sometimes may not realize is all these guys are learning. I just think sometimes now in the day and age of college football and basketball, impulsivity is at an all-time high. We are, as administrations, reacting to tweets and our emotions after tough losses where the truth of the matter is sometimes you might need to ride it out one more year, or you might want to sit down with a coach and say, okay, what's your plan to get this thing right? But Penn State's failure could be Virginia Tech's success, right? And I'll add one more thing. I got a lot to talk about. Penn State and Virginia Tech have been kindred spirits for a long time. People don't realize the connections. So first of all, let me take you back to 1996 into 1997. Jim Weaver takes over for Dave Brain. Dave Brain goes down south to Georgia Tech. Jim Weaver's a Penn State guy.
Penn State guy.
And I told you last week on the episode, he sat us down and said, we got to do A, B, and C. And he did A, B, and C and put Virginia Tech not only in a better conference, well, a good conference at the time, the ACC. I think the Big East was just as good. Got us into the ACC, and they also played for a national championship. We also look at in 1999, a few years after Weaver got there, Virginia Tech spends most of their year number 3 behind guess who in the rankings? Penn State, who was number 2. The LeVar Arrington, LeVar Leap, and those guys have a tough loss. I believe it was at home to Minnesota that same night, Virginia Tech, all they have to do is win, and they jumped them in the BCS. Well, that night was the Miracle in Morgantown. So they had to beat West Virginia on the road. They win that game. They jump Penn State. Penn State feels they got slighted. Virginia Tech plays for a national championship. To this day, some people felt like Penn State would have beaten Florida State or gave them a run for their money. Of course, the connection with Brent Pry and Franklin. So there's a lot of connections, kind of weird in a way, between Penn State and Virginia Tech, how they've had connections with players and recruits and also coaching. I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next 4 or 5 years with both Penn State and Virginia Tech, the trajectory they go on regarding how this pans out. Because, again, it's like in life, man, I can find any woman to be with and hang out and hook up with, but it's tough to find a companion. It's tough to find a real woman. It's tough to find a wife. Yeah, anybody can find somebody at a bar, at Costco, at the mall, and say, hey, what are you doing later? Let's go mess around. But how many of you guys can find somebody you can trust, that you trust with your house, to give you children, to have your back? You know, you saw what happened when Tom Hanks was lost for 5 years with Wilson. What kept him alive was old girl.
That's right.
And,
that's right.
And he came back, and she moved on. You know what I'm saying? But she was like, dude, you was gone 5 years. So he lost his wife in the sea, at sea with Wilson. I mean, Wilson wasn't his wife, but it was his companion.
Sure.
You see how much Wilson was his companion. When he lost Wilson, he was sick. He cried on the raft because it's tough to find a companion. Wilson and his soon-to-be wife at the time, he thought, was there waiting for him. And when he lost both of them, he was sick to his stomach.
It's the perfect analogy. It is. All right. So you said cautiously optimistic. That's where I find myself. I know Tech fans over the moon. My guy was still at James Madison. That's who I would have hired. I understand why they couldn't. Okay, we'll let that go. But I think about you all the time. I think about you a lot anyway. Don't think that's creepy.
No, I don't. No.
You said, and this was back early in the year, maybe even before the season started, and it stands out because I think it's the truest thing I've heard about what's happened with football. And you said, what? Too many egos went unchecked in that department that were allowed to run rampant. Nobody really cared about anything but their own self-worth. Tech could not have hired a coach with a more massive ego than James Franklin. Can that be curbed so this isn't a repeat of some of the things you were talking about? Because you talk to people that were around it, people on the coaching staff. That's what I worry about. Can he humble himself enough to come here, a place that wasn't his first choice or even his second or third choice, and he's here now? Can he adjust that? Because I have a feeling one day we're going to find out what happened at Penn State, and a lot of that's going to be about personal relationships and how he carried himself.
Well, here's the thing. Let me go back to the JMU situation first. I think, like I said earlier, all coaches will have flaws and criticism. If we would have hired the JMU coach and missed out on Franklin, it would have been some people happy, but the message would have been, well, you hired a JMU coaching staff or a couple of guys from them, but they won only at the Sun Belt. I saw a thread last night saying, you guys shouldn't be ranked. Who have you beaten? Because the Sun Belt is viewed as a step below, even though I think the Sun Belt will give the ACC and even a few Big Ten teams a run for their money.
I do too.
But I think fans don't look at it like that. Name matters, right? So again, I still like him as a coach. I like what JMU's doing. And Franklin will have a chance to show and prove next year when we host both ODU and JMU in Blacksburg. So those are two. That might not be labeled a big game from the media, national media, but for the state of Virginia, that is a chance for Virginia Tech to shut that noise down. Now, egos, right? Egos. Everybody has an ego. It depends, right?
Sure.
On how big your ego is. I'm more of a humble person. I don't take myself that seriously, but I know when to flex and when to flex my ego. The egos I've talked about numerous times on your platform that have kind of sabotaged and ruined Virginia Tech were selfishly motivated. I don't think Franklin's a selfish guy. I think his ego is one based on he knows who he is. He's confident in his ability. He's a great orator. He can speak. He can take over a room. But I think his ego is going to hold some of these guys that have been kind of messing around with the money and other things. I think he's going to hold them accountable. Most of these guys, Nick Saban has the ego. Kiffin has the ego. My guy at Georgia has the ego. The dude that was at Notre Dame and then he went to LSU, that guy fired Les Miles. Well, Les Miles has an ego, but the other guy, Kelly, they all have egos. Bud Foster has an ego. Almation and Grantham, who I was around for a few years, they have egos. You cannot be in this business and not feel like you can't be like Ricky Bobby. You cannot be like Ricky Bobby. Ricky Bobby,
he had an ego. Yeah.
But Ricky Bobby was humble, right? I know I'm fresh with the movie references this morning, right?
No, we love him. We love him.
Ricky Bobby was humble, and then he apologized to his best friend Shake and Bake, and then they won again at the end, right? I think the key thing with this is James Franklin has been humbled, right? Because he was up there. He's not going to change who he is. But I think in life, if you embrace your humility and you look at your losses and you look yourself in the mirror, I believe, man, he was shocked how bad they started after that tough loss in double overtime to Oregon, right? And then they followed up because it happens to the best of them. Boise State beat Virginia twice in 2010. They beat them in the game on Labor Day night, and then they lost to JMU, Virginia Tech did, and they lost twice, right? Penn State lost to UCLA, and they lost to Oregon. They lost 3 games because they were shocked. And I think it was even more shocking to him when he found himself in the AD's office and he was terminated. That's a humiliating thing when you're all over the ticker, you're on ESPN News, and everybody's talking about your ego. Listen, the truth of the matter is that he has to win at Virginia Tech because then you impact your legacy. Right behind me, you see the victory light banner. I always point to it about leave a legacy. Franklin wants to win a championship. He wants to win a national championship. And so did Frank Beamer. They just went about it different ways. Unfortunately, neither one has won one yet. Beamer's retired. And he has an impeccable legacy. But at the same time, there are people that felt like when Beamer was coaching, his flaws was he couldn't win the big one because he relied too much on defense and special teams. Or, the Boston College game when you had Matt Ryan and company on the ropes, the number 2 team in the country in your house. And, you have Tyrod, who's injured. So you go with Sean Glennon, you lose that game. They got an interception by DJ Parker. Instead of going for the field goal or trying to get the 4th down conversion, they do a quick kick. Matt Ryan scores 2 touchdowns with a few minutes left. And then you miss out, right, on an opportunity to get the national championship race. How many times did we see it happen during Virginia Tech, Frank Beamer's tenure? Quite a few. Now, he won conference championships. He beat LSU. He beat Texas A&M. He beat Alabama, but he didn't win a national championship. Franklin wants to retire a national champion. I think his best chance right now is at Virginia Tech because of his motivation, the personnel he's going to get, and the kids they have there. I'm going to say this real quick, and I know some people may disagree. I don't think a lot that know the game will. Virginia Tech has a boatload of talent, right? It's been mismanaged. Takai Heath, the kid from Holland Springs, number 2, I was saying he should have been getting some scratch last year. There's a lot of guys that were not getting the ball or not getting a chance to be looked at, and now we're starting to see. I've been telling everybody, check my receipts on Twitter. I've been telling people since he signed. Jeffrey Overton Jr. was the Virginia's Gatorade Player of the Year. He was one of the best backs of the nation. He had offers from Ohio State and Clemson. He chose Tech. I'm so glad they're playing him now. He is a game changer. I would not be surprised if he breaks a long run either against Miami or UVA here in the next few weeks. He is that good. You don't have a lot of fans talking about him right now. They have a lot of talent. It's been mismanaged. I mean, Indiana had a lot of talent. And then my guy comes in and it gets managed, and now they're going to have a chance to play for a national championship. It just comes down to how you manage talent, man. And egos get in the way of that. And I can look at a lot of situations from music groups to other situations when the ego will ruin a very good thing. And Virginia Tech had a very good thing post Beamer. Fuente was doing a great job in the first 3 years. He won 10 games his first year, 9 games his second year, and then 8 games his third year with Hendon Hooker. And then after that, he refused to give Hendon Hooker the keys to the car. He brought in another little kid. I don't mean to, disrespect the young man, but he was not the quarterback, Hendon Hooker. I kept tweeting, why is Hooker not on the field? And then they struggled. And then all of a sudden, he started saying, Texas, 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 Texas. And Texas guys kept committing and then decommitting. And then you left with a guy, from Jabba the Hutt's palace playing quarterback. You know what I'm saying? So it's just one of those situations, man, where it was an S show, man. It was disgusting.
Well, the one thing I'm most optimistic about, because I'm a big believer in utilizing the tight end. Well, James Franklin believes that in his offense. He has some of the best tight end prospects the NFL has seen recently. Ty Warren is going to be a Hall of Famer. He's going to make Travis Kelce look like a pastry chef before he's done, the Colts rookie. So I don't know where it's gone in the offense. You and I have talked about it. They have tight ends now, Cable. We don't have to worry about that going forward with James Franklin.
Well, I mean, I know if you're a receiver, do you come to Virginia Tech? Yeah, you can still come. The tight end has been underutilized for Virginia Tech since Jeff King and those guys were there. I've often said, we text, and then I say this on your show, and I tweet it. I don't know why we stopped using the tight end, but, I think the spread is overused. I think you have to have RPO spread personnel. I think Monty's offense is great, but I feel like he had an offense better suited for a different type of quarterback than Drones. Drones is an RPO quarterback. And that's what I mean about managing talent. Prop brought in an air raid coach, but Drones is an RPO quarterback. His best numbers were with Tyler Bowen that year he started and the year he came in, right? But he just battled injuries. But the truth of the matter is that it's about managing your talent and also doing what you do. The thing about it is that, Penn State couldn't beat Michigan and Ohio State, but they were still going to the playoffs, and they also were still in contention to win the Big Ten title. I think it's funny because they used the tight end a lot. They ran the ball. They played great defense, and they won a majority of their games. Can it happen at Virginia Tech? I say yes. I mean, you look at the two top teams technically in the ACC, Georgia Tech and UVA. And then you look at, to me, what I think is the best team. I think it's between Miami and, quiet as kept, SMU. We don't know what's going to play out here in the 2 weeks. I would assume Georgia Tech definitely is going to get in. We don't know. UVA should get in, right? But if you look at UVA's wins this year, right, and Georgia Tech, none of them have been really great. I think UVA finally had a great win last week. That was a really good win for them, at Duke. They looked like that was probably their best game. The Florida State game was a shootout. It was back and forth. And we realized Florida State is not the team we thought they were when they won. My point being is you can find flaws in Georgia Tech, UVA, SMU, and Miami. And I every summer when I jump on your show and when we re-up and do this thing again, I tell you and everybody else, including Andy Bitter, who continues to pick Miami every year, and I say, why do y'all fall for the banana and the tailpipe? Why do y'all do it? Miami is going to do that to you. So, and this is not trolling the Canes because somebody can say, well, the Chokies don't get it done. That's my point. Every team in the ACC has flaws. The most disappointing thing, I told one of my good friends, Chris, this is an issue. Virginia Tech right now is wasting time before they hired Franklin because the ACC, the last handful of years, since Clemson has gone down, has been a very winnable conference. But we are sitting here chasing our tail, not taking advantage of the talent we have. So I'm hoping it can get right because the conference is winnable. I mean, SMU just joined the conference, and every time I look at the standings, I'm like, damn, SMU is right there. What are they doing? Well, guess what they're doing? They got a coach that knows who he is. They got the right personnel in Texas, and they are sticking true to their script. Georgia Tech is who they are, and it wins. When you are coaching a team, especially at the Power 4 level, you need a systematic approach. What is your system? What is your identity? What's your off-season program? What do you do recruiting-wise? Who is Virginia Tech? So it'll be interesting. I'm excited for this reason. I want new memories. I love the lunch pail. I don't think that should be scrapped, but if Franklin does that, that's fine, because that's a Foster thing. 25, I love Frank Beamer more than y'all know. But that turned into a bit of a show because it was like, well, I don't care who's wearing number 25. Who's going to get this W, right? A lot of stuff, except for maybe the entrance, should have been scrapped, but we were holding on to stuff from back in my day, and you can't evolve and move forward, right? You can't. You have to move forward, man. So let's see how they move forward, Rick.
Well, points here before I'll let you go. One of the listeners wants to ask, what were the 2 questions that were asked on the Zoom that he answered?
The first question was, what do you plan to do to navigate the portal and recruiting? And he said, listen, I'm going to use the portal, but I'm going to develop talent. That's not set up, because I heard the D word, develop. Thank you. Develop your talent, right? And then he talked about he's going to recruit the state and win the state, but he also is going to recruit nationally, which I've always felt you have to do to win a national championship, or at least win your conference. He's going to recruit nationally, but he understands Virginia Tech's and their brand. And he talked about when he was an assistant coach at Maryland going against Bud Foster, and he was coaching the receivers at Maryland. And he talked about Virginia Tech being a tough place to play and how the program has to smell and look like a big-time program, like it used to be. And he just talked glowingly about some of the talent that Virginia Tech has. Like I said on your show, and I said in Twitter Spaces, he's been evaluating this program before he even made his decision. So he's been watching games. I try to tell fans that, like, you're not going to go into a situation unless you just don't care, not evaluate the scenery, right? So he talked about his recruiting philosophy. And the other question I can't really recall, because it was I think I might have had it on, but doing stuff and looking.
Yeah.
But that was really what he talked about, was really his recruiting, and he also talked about wanting us to be a part of this. He said, I want you to come back as much as possible. I want you guys around the program. You helped build this thing. You guys are the reason why I'm here. And he was very passionate and respectful of the guys on the call. It was about 250 guys. I mean, I saw Lauren Johnson in there. I mean, I saw guys from the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. I couldn't even see everybody because it was so many people on the Zoom. So a lot of people in there. I think I saw Vinny Fuller in there. I mean, a lot of people in there. So the Zoom call was good. It wasn't but maybe 20 minutes because he had a lot of people to talk to.
And my question is, what the hell happened to the Back to the Future franchise after the first movie? Second one you can watch from time to time. DV, I've never even made it through the third one.
Never. The third one I couldn't do it, man, because it was like in a Western or something. See, again, listen, yeah. It's egos. Wes Craven didn't do Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2. He didn't do Part 2.
He did one.
I mean, you know, he did one, and I think he came back for 3. The truth of the matter is, man, egos, man, will mess up a good thing. I don't know what happened. Back to the Future. Listen, man, I'm in the hood. I'm growing up in Hampton and Newport News, Virginia. I'm in the hood, and Michael J. Fox had. I'm not gonna curse. He had me with my size with a skateboard. I'm walking around Hampton, Virginia, with a skateboard because that move he did under the car when Biff had him pinned up, and he ran across the car, jumped back on. Hey, listen. I wish that happened now. That would be trending on TikTok. You have people breaking their legs on TikTok.
Oh, there's
trying
no
to do
doubt.
what Michael J. Fox did. Yeah, that's just like in the program when those guys were hanging on. They had to take it out of the movie theater scenes when they were hanging on to the car of that little, when the car was driving and the football players were hanging on the back of it. You know, so again, man. Yeah, movies are something else, man. But I tell you what, we're gonna see how this movie plays out for Virginia Tech, man. By the way. Shout out to Mike Young. I call him Mike Yeezy. Mike Young.
Mike Yeezy. Yeah.
He's doing a great job, man.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, I love watching. What did I tell you when you and I became friends? Remember, in Step Brothers, did we just become best friends? When you and I became best friends? When I told you this, when I came with I came on your show 4 years ago. I said, life is better when you're winning. Everything's better. Everybody looks better. The sky's clear. The food tastes better. So it's good that we got somebody in Blacksburg that's winning right now, man. And hopefully the football team can follow suit. But look, man, we don't know what's going to happen, but enjoy the ride, everybody. I'm praying that he can get this thing right. Here's the thing, and I know we got to jump off. If you are a Virginia Tech fan, I always said this, especially here in recent years, there's no fan base more deserving of a chip than these guys and women that follow this program. I mean, I was there. I sat when my wife was pregnant with my first child. We sat through a hurricane when she didn't want to leave when we were playing Texas A&M with Brian Randall and Kevin Jones.
Yep.
A hurricane, and in Lane Stadium, she sat through it. And Tech fans have always shown up. We need the administration to show up. That's my last word.
Yeah. All right, brother. Listen,
anyway,
great stuff.
Appreciate you, Rick.
Stuff. No, I appreciate you. And everybody's saying that we need to get you and Nate Daniels on here sometime together too. That was a great Zoom, by the way. So, yeah.
Oh yeah, that's my dude. Yeah, shout out to Nate, man. Yeah, it's my guy, man.
Well, we'll get him on. I'd love to have him. It'd be great. It'd be fun.
Yeah, he's a great guest, man. He's a great speaker too. Author, motivator, trainer, phenomenal person.
People need that. Yeah, we need phenomenal people like yourself, brother. Yeah. You're a phenomenal human being. You really are. You're the best.
All love.
All right, brother. Have a great weekend, man. Go get Miami. That's right.
Yes, sir.
All right. The great Dwight Vick. Man, that's good stuff. All right. Thanks to everybody. Thanks to all of our sponsors again. Thanks to you, best YouTube audience out there. Please share, like, and subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to 1,000. We're getting there. Just tell people it's free. And let me know if you want a T-shirt. Hit me up. And we'll see you tomorrow on the Finally Friday edition. More in-depth conversation with Will Stewart from Tech Sideline, Mike Ashley, Open Mike, and Jen with our picks. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday, everybody. Thanks to Andy Bitter. Thanks to Todd Grantham, Dwight Vick. Just excellent guests, folks. Again, they're the best. And I know that's why you tune in. I hope we bring something to your day. I know you bring a lot to mine. We'll see you tomorrow on the Finally Friday edition.